And good morning. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners Agenda Setting Work Session for October 8th, 2019. I am John Hutchings, the Chair of the Board. To my right is Commissioner Ty Menser. To my left is no one, but will you please introduce yourself, please? Robin Courts.
Robin Courts, Commissioner Edwards' office.
Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager.
Bonita Gilmore, Clerk of the Board.
Megan Porter, Public Information.
All right, so today we're going to start with the draft agenda for this afternoon's BoCC meeting. Then move into this afternoon's Board of Health draft agenda. Then we will move into the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting for next Tuesday, October 15th. Then we'll go through the list of other things on the agenda that are all online. So starting with this afternoon's October 8th, 2019, Board of County Commissioners will call the meeting to order at 2 o'clock with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Menser.
All right.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda and board meeting minutes, and we move right into presentations, and the first one is from the Auditor's Office.
Yes, I believe Auditor Barry Hall will be here this afternoon, and she is requesting that the Board of County Commissioners proclaim October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ta-da. It's a pretty straightforward request.
Okay.
The county has been focused for some time on cybersecurity awareness. We're taking a number of measures, and I'm sure Mary will talk a little bit about what we're doing to make the county safe.
And I had lunch with the Auditor Mary Hall yesterday, and she is all over this cybersecurity issue like a rat on a Cheeto. Mm-hmm. Trying to get grants and get money in to protect not only the elections and the Auditor's Office, but countywide as well.
Correct.
Any questions or comments?
Nope. Month before the election, good timing. So
Perfect timing, yeah. Number 2 is the Prosecuting Attorney Domestic Violence Awareness Month Proclamation.
Yes, we expect that Christy Peters of the Prosecutor's Office will be here, and this would be for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. You both got purple on, right? This is a month that's, I believe it's celebrated across the nation.
Okay. Questions or comments?
nope.
She will have, Christy, is she going to have folks here presenting?
I
Do you
don't know,
know?
but we can certainly check.
I was going to say, I hope not, because it's always moving, very touching and emotional. Okay. Then we move into the number 1 on the agenda, the opportunity for the public to address the board. Are you aware of any hot ticket items coming up before?
We
The
will
board.
probably have comments regarding the courthouse, and you may have additional comments regarding the budget.
Okay.
I'm not aware of anything else.
Aware of anything else?
No.
Aware of anything?
No.
For public comment?
No, I'm sure there'll
I
be
didn't
some
hear you.
comments.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I got
I'm
that.
sure there'll be some comment.
There'll be comments. Then we move into agenda item number 2, the county manager's update. Have you been given any follow-up?
I have not. I will have no updates this afternoon.
Okay. Agenda item number 3 is the consent item A, the financial report, the voucher list. And I trust my seatmates have been through it. I trust. Okay.
I reviewed the voucher list. There is nothing on it that I would call your attention to.
Nothing
Everything looks
remarkable.
normal.
Good, okay. Then we move into department items, and number 4 on the agenda is Public Works, setting a public hearing for the 6-year Transportation Improvement Program for 20 to 25.
So this afternoon, you'll be asked to set the public hearing on the Transportation Improvement Plan. This plan, the board is required to hold a public hearing and adopt the plan each year. It's connected to the budget and the capital facilities plan. It's a plan that's required by state law. So you generally would adopt this plan along with the budget. But in this case, you hold the hearing separate.
Okay. Questions or comments on that? Public hearing?
No.
Agenda item number 5, Public Health and Social Services, Thurston County Criminal Justice Treatment Account Plan.
So this is for the board to approve the plan for the criminal justice treatment account. This is funding that the county receives from the state of Washington. The money is used for very specific purposes around substance abuse treatment. And this will be the plan for the state fiscal year.
Okay. Anything, Ty?
No, unless Carrie's
Okay.
got something to tell us.
Well, I just have a question. And the question is, you don't have to, I don't think you have to come up. It says involved in the criminal justice system. That doesn't mean just incarcerated. That is pre-booking, diversion, those folks as well? Because they're kind of touching the criminal justice but not getting into it. Please come up, Carrie. Thank you.
Good morning. The language in the
Who
RCW
might you be?
is, my name is Carrie Hennon. I'm a program manager with Public Health and Social Services.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is on. Okay. The language in the statute is with charges filed by a prosecuting attorney
They have to
in
have
the state of
charges
Washington.
filed.
So, yes, I'll leave it at that.
Otherwise, we could use more money.
We follow the language of the law, and that's the language of the law.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
That's 5A. 5B is the Healthcare Authority contract.
Yes, this is also for the criminal justice treatment account. In state fiscal year 2019, which ended on June 30, the county used less than the state had awarded us. And the state of Washington has asked that we amend the contract so that it reflects the amount that we actually used rather than the full award. So the contract will be reduced from $239,327 to $99,356, which is the amount that the county actually used of the award from the state. And if we, with that in mind, if you look at item A, the new plan is a plan where we will use the full amount of the state award. That's the difference between the two.
So though it's coming down for just a moment, it's going to return to its higher level, 239.
Right, the decrease is in the award for the fiscal year that ended June 30, and the new plan in item A is for the year that we're currently in.
And we expect that to be back to 239, 327.
The full amount of the award, yes, that is $239,000.
Good, thank you. Commissioner?
I would just ask him, we've went over this before, boy, but I'm sure the public is confused with this one, to be honest with you, and I don't know if that just takes a little more explanation or what. Just for clarity to the public, can you give us a little more detail on that?
So I can give you a little more detail about the new plan.
Well, about how this came about,
Okay.
and what our intentions are.
Reduction.
Yeah.
So in the year ended June 30, 2019, the bulk of the funds had been intended to be used in Superior Court treatment courts. And what happened was some of the services that we had planned to use this money on were covered in other ways, like treatment was covered by Medicaid, and we did not have to turn to this fund to cover those costs. So we spent substantially less than we had anticipated, and due to some tracking, it was quite late when we discovered that we were not going to use all of the funds. We didn't have an opportunity to look for other types of services that could be covered. So we are returning a substantial amount of the grant from the prior year. This year, we had the time to think about other ways to use the funds that are acceptable to the state of Washington. We've got the plan ready to submit as soon as the board should approve it. But I believe, as Carrie said, we are very carefully following the letter of the law. The state should approve these additional uses, and we will be able to use all of the funding in the coming year.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Agenda item number 6, interlocal agreement with Douglas County for cooperative purchasing.
So this item, the Thurston County in 2016 issued a request for proposals and purchased a budget system called Questica. The state of Washington allows jurisdictions to do what they call piggybacking off each other's contracts. And when you piggyback off the contract of another jurisdiction, you save a lot of time because they've done the due diligence in getting the best service at the lowest possible price. And the jurisdiction that piggybacks doesn't have to go through the entire RFP process. But the state does require that the jurisdictions enter an interlocal agreement for a purchasing cooperative. So Douglas County is in the process of purchasing a budget system. They like Questica. They knew that we had done the RFP and have all the appropriate documentation that aligns with state rules. And they have asked if they could enter into an interlocal agreement with Thurston County to be able to piggyback off our contract. So this motion would approve that purchasing cooperative.
Anything?
Does it affect us in any way?
Not in any
negatively?
way. It doesn't cost us anything. We don't save anything.
No expenditure, no revenue?
It's a good, we're being good neighbors, if you will, working with our other counties.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, it actually saves us the staff time of developing all this, doesn't it? And kind of, aren't we piggybacking on what they've already done?
No, they're
No, they're
piggybacking
piggybacking
on
on
what
us.
we've already
Us,
done.
what
Our
we've
time
already-
is
yes, I
sunk.
get it.
We did
Yeah,
the
you-
work.
you did
couple
all
of
the
works.
work and they're
Yes, we
getting the
did.
benefit from it.
And they are, and that's okay, because in other
Okay.
instances, we do piggyback off other.
So it saves them time,
jurisdictions.
not staff time.
Yep,
And we piggyback on others throughout the state, do we?
yes, we do.
Okay. Very well
Purchasing
done.
cooperative.
That is 6A. 6B on the agenda is set a public hearing related to a resolution opposing initiative measure number 976.
So this item, the Board of County Commissioners is considering passing a resolution opposing Initiative 976. That initiative would reduce certain motor vehicle taxes and fees. It has the potential for eliminating a large amount of money, revenue that's used for roads and transportation purposes. And
public safety.
Yes. And the board is required to hold a public hearing before you make a decision on the action that you take. So this motion would set the public hearing. And you have time later on the agenda this morning to discuss this item.
Oh, good. Okay. Commissioner, any comments, questions?
I'll defer till the later discussion.
Yeah, anything?
As well.
Same. That takes us to Commissioner's report on our work sessions throughout the week, and then the county manager will review our schedule for the coming week, which is always depressing. I'm sorry, exciting and busy. And then we move right into about 3:30 in the afternoon, we move into the Board of Health agenda. And we'll convene, call the meeting to order about 3:30-ish. And there'll be a move to approve the agenda. And then we move right into agenda item number 2, which is proclamations proclaiming Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Shelley Slaughter, Director of Thurston County Public Health and Administrator of your Board of Health.
Lydia Hodgkinson, Clerk of the Board of Health.
So ready to jump right in?
Please, yes.
Okay. So our first proclamation will be Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you for showing your pink for today. The goal of this proclamation is to raise awareness of breast cancer, honor those who have survived and those who have passed from breast cancer, and encourage the public to take measures to prevent breast cancer and detect it early. With us today will be Nicole Woolsey from the American Cancer Society. She'll be sharing some information about breast cancer and how people can prevent it, and share some stories as well. And also Sheriff John Snazzo will be here to talk about the Sheriff's Pink Patch Project.
Okay. Questions or comments?
I got pink flowers on my tie against the purple shirt.
That works, sir.
Possibly a bad fashion choice, but I had to get the pink and purple
I have
on.
pink shoes with my purple dress.
There you go.
You walk that line. Commissioner, any comments or questions?
I'm dressed appropriately.
Is Nicole the only one coming in? Do we have others coming in as well for that topic?
I believe Nicole will be bringing some survivors with her, but other than Nicole and the sheriff, I'm not aware of any others. That we have extended the invitation to others who would like to participate in this to attend today's meeting. So there may be multiple people to share in the proclamation and participate in the photo, those who want to honor those who've courageously survived or died.
I know Corinne Wool has shown up in the past as well. I don't know if she's coming or not.
I am not sure if Corinne will be here or not. I will.
She will be.
She will be.
Oh,
Okay.
yay, good,
Yes.
good. I have so much admiration for her. And do you have any ideas? Sheriff Snozzo bringing his pink patches for purchase? He has pink sheriff patches for purchase, $10 a patch.
Yes, he does, and I don't know for sure whether he will be there to sell them or not, but he will certainly be showcasing them and sharing about that program and how the sheriff's office has been showing support for this cause.
All right, well, I would hope somebody may, I have no idea, but somebody might call him and have him bring.
We will
Some
be sure
patches.
to do that to ensure that there are patches available.
Oh, you
at the
will,
meeting
thank you.
today.
Thank you for thinking of that, appreciate it.
Of course.
Then we move into the opportunity for the public to address the Board of Health. Are you aware of anything coming up?
I am not aware of any.
Lakes or immunizations or anything? Nope.
We have not heard anyone that plans to speak at public comment.
Okay. You aware of anything? You?
No.
Nor have I. Okay. That's good. Agenda item number 4 is department items. The first one is Healthy Schools Pilot and Voluntary Environmental Health School Inspection Program.
Yes, we're really excited to showcase this from our environmental health program. Sammy Berg, our senior environmental health specialist, who oversees our food and schools program, and Jennifer Johnson, our education and outreach specialist, will be sharing information about a really great pilot project that we have done at Griffin Schools to reduce the use of hazardous cleaning supplies within the school, and also to talk about our schools program and how we support schools in having safe play equipment and a safe environment for kids. So that's what we will be highlighting and encouraging another school to join in our next pilot project. It's been
Okay.
very, very successful in making that environment safer, and we're really grateful to Griffin Schools.
How long have we been doing this?
This has been the last year.
Last year?
Yes.
Okay. Anything, Commissioner? Commissioner?
No.
Agenda item number 5, Homeless Community Inclement Weather Preparation.
Yes, and I'll call Keely up here, please, to share information about what she will be
Oh, is she
discussing.
here? Is she here?
Yes.
Good morning,
Good
Keely Marino
morning.
with Public Health and Social Services. Great. So today I'm just going to kind of bring you up to speed with how the Hazardous Weather Task Force is preparing for this cold weather season. kind of talk about where we are, the state of our region, and then some of our planning to address some of the deficits that we have in both daytime shelter and also in nighttime shelter. That's about it.
That's it?
Any
Okay.
questions?
Well, let's see. Commissioner? You? No.
Can you fill us in on what the situation is with Salvation Army? I've been hearing all sorts of different things, and I'm just not sure what is going on there.
Sure. As far as I understand, the Salvation Army was in contract with the City of Olympia to provide eventually 24/7 shelter operations, but they were unable to follow through on that due to funding shortfalls, and so they will be offering cold weather shelter for up to 30 individuals starting November 1 and through the end of March for the cold weather season. So that will be 20 men and 10 women.
Is that similar to what they've done in the past?
That was what they did last year because they were under construction with the hope that this season we would have 24/7 shelter, but that wasn't able to happen.
And you say lack of funding, but other folks have told me that it really wasn't about that at all. It was about a shift in their philosophy and what their kind of higher level policy shift of their operations. So that's important for what we could expect in the future.
And loss
Absolutely.
of funding.
Absolutely. The number, it's kind of a.
Oh, they're both?
It's kind of a chicken and egg situation where I know that Captain Mark was reliant on the county funds because his other funds suddenly disappeared, as far as I understand it. And so then it became 100% reliant on county dollars, which he was not awarded. And so because of that downfall or that shortfall, they are considering what they're going to do for the future moving forward past this season. So I haven't heard 100% from Captain Mark himself, but my understanding is that they're considering other options moving into the future, which may or may not include sheltering.
So this is a localized issue, not a...
Yeah, I would have to say that I understand this to be a localized issue, but that doesn't mean it's not a larger national policy.
Is that it? Well, I have a confirmed rumor,
Okay.
and that is I had heard that the City of Olympia, not the City of Olympia, perhaps our local Salvation Army had been receiving $400,000 annually from Salvation Army National,
Yes.
and that was removed. That $400,000 was a loss of revenue to our local Salvation Army for whatever reason, I have no idea.
Yep.
And that is what has resulted in the severe reduction in services and
Correct.
beds. Is that a true rumor?
That's as I understand it. I believe it was 450,000 is what Captain Mark
good
Stearns
grief.
had said, that suddenly they no longer had.
Substantial hit
Yeah.
to our community. Okay. Commissioner?
Well, I guess I would only ask that maybe we rethink a recent vote that we took in which we gave $200,000 to the consortium project of maybe moving out in the county. And I had opted at that time, and I'm still concerned that Salvation Army does not have enough funding, and I would definitely like to have provided that $200,000 to the Salvation Army. And maybe with this new information about their lack of funding, I hate to see them go out of the business because they are the professionals in dealing with this homeless problem. And we're just trying to get started in it and be up to my seatmates, I guess.
Excuse me. So last year, the Board of County Commissioners gave Salvation Army $65,000 in emergency funds in order to operate the shelter, which they had to return because they weren't able to use it. And then also.
Because of construction, right?
Yeah, and also their minimum ask was $750,000. That's the minimum amount that they needed according to their grant proposal in order to operate their 24/7 shelter. So that was one of the issues in the funding considerations where just the $750,000 would be the only shelter that would be in operation in our system were it to be granted.
$750,000.
Sheltering is very expensive.
And just, they're continuing to operate their rental assistance and prevention program, and also the cold weather program, and partnering with Catholic Community Services to operate the meals program, which serves many, many people experiencing homelessness and poverty in our community. So they're continuing to do some good work, but we definitely do have some shelter shortfalls that are very concerning going into this cold weather season.
So with that in mind, returning to the topic of the cold weather or inclement weather preparation, the CCC is not going to be a day center any longer.
What I understand is that the Providence St. Peter's and the partners at the CCC will be meeting this Friday to discuss how to address
I'm sorry, will you spell out the acronym
I'm so
for
sorry.
me?
Providence
I did it
Community
too.
Care Center, and the Providence Community Care Center partners are meeting with St. Pete's administrator this Friday to discuss the future of the day center. My understanding is that they're not talking about right now cutting all services to the daytime center, but there may be a reduction in the number of people let in.
It was set up or established supposed to be by appointment to help folks meet with resources to get them all sorted. And then it turned into a drop-in center. And now what I was told was, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, or correct everybody, that the drop-in center is closing, but they'll keep it open by appointment to help folks again back to where they began.
My most recent understanding is that they're in negotiations for limiting the number of people into the day center. With the model is based on the hygiene aspects of the day room is a service. And so the model is having folks come in, build relationships with the front room staff in the day center, address their hygiene needs, and then move them into services. And I know that they are just full to brimming. Their services are really well utilized, absolutely. So,
Probably to capacity.
yeah. And I also had word that, though it's not 100% confirmed, but that the Timberland Regional Library in downtown Olympia.
That was next on my list.
Yeah, will be closed for December and January through the cold weather for renovations.
For renovations. But they were operating as a kind of a warming,
Kind of a de facto warming center for many individuals.
okay.
And also a place to charge their phones or use the Wi-Fi or use the internet, computers, print things, print applications. So that will certainly have an impact on our downtown corridor for folks needing a place to be during the day.
And I know that you don't speak for Olympia, Keely, but we are talking about hearsay.
Yeah.
So I'll bring up the Olympia Council has been considering opening a warming center or an inclement weather location downtown. Are you aware of
I'm not aware of that.
where they might be with that?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of contentious
Oh, yeah.
down there. Anything else?
Just, these, like, some of these updates and stuff, it's like, we really need this information. And I don't know if Board of Health is once a month, and I don't know if I felt like in the spring we were having you come to like agenda settings just to give it, because I do not like getting blindsided and not seeming like I know what's going on.
Right.
When we're making decisions about county policy, but if we don't know what's happening in Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, all the different groups, and Providence, we can't necessarily figure out how our regional strategy fits into the whole.
Right.
So we kind of just need to be kept up to date on a weekly basis or something, bi-weekly basis at minimum, on all these like maneuverings because this is such a dynamic issue.
Right.
So many moving pieces, and I'm Hutch may be on top of it going to Regional Housing Council, but I sometimes show up and, people are telling me things that I feel like I should know.
Right.
So hopefully maybe we can work out a system, an information flow of some kind.
How about if we just add that to our weekly Tuesday commissioner item, like number one is just an update, especially as we're moving into the cold weather. Is that doable? Not a big presentation, but just
Right.
here's an update. Here's
Sure.
what's moving, here's what's not. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Assistant County Manager, is that all right? We can add that to the commissioner items? Oh, that was easy.
Thank you.
Is that okay with you? Is that all right? Okay,
Sure.
thank you. Good point, though. We can't wait once a month and do this.
Yeah,
We got to be
it's-
on it. 'Cause we get calls and questions all the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Keely.
You bet.
Agenda item number 6, department items. This one is adopt ordinance H-2-2019, establishing Board of Health regular meeting times and locations.
Yes, so we've had the opportunity to talk about this particular ordinance several times, and you held a public hearing on September 10th to discuss this ordinance, which proposes to amend the regular meeting times of the Board of Health to include more flexibility, more opportunities for the public to participate and for the board to participate remotely, including agenda setting and other special meetings. So including that in the ordinance allows us to more efficiently provide notice to the public, more flexibility for you to meet as a Board of Health as needed.
Okay. Questions, comments?
No.
Okay, good, thank you.
Can I go back real quick?
No.
This is a,
Yeah, go ahead.
I appreciate putting, I appreciate the suggestion to put Keely on, but I also feel really bad about, folks waiting all morning.
I was thinking of that too.
So like, would it be okay to just have her the first thing, like before we jump into the agenda?
How funny, because when she was
That
walking
way-
out, I was thinking, she's
Because
so
we need her to get
busy.
to work.
She's so busy, have her
Not to
jump in and get it done.
Be sitting here waiting to talk
Yeah.
to us for an hour and 2 hours.
It's up to you where you would like to place her on your agenda.
That's where my heart is at, get her in and done and out. What do you think?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't want her sitting here all morning
Yeah.
for that.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting times for the Board of Health and locations. If there was any questions or comments on that? Anything?
No, sir.
Good, that one's done, thank you. Item number 7, then we were talking about the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Health. We talk about our health-related activities, health officer's report, and then the director's report. Will Dr. Wood, she won't be here.
Dr. Wood will not be present, but I will be providing her report, and the bulk of my time in giving her report will be focused on the issue of vaping. So most recently, Governor Inslee issued an executive order to post warnings at all vape retail locations on the risks of vaping to better inform our community and those who use vape, to encourage them to quit because of many deaths that have been happening and vaping illnesses. So we've had several illnesses in Washington State, several deaths across the country. The Washington State Board of Health, in addition, has issued a rule to restrict the sale of flavored vaping products, which really attract youth to engage in vaping. You had a briefing on that probably about, I think, last spring, in which staff brought you information about vaping and plans to propose restriction of vaping in public places, which we'll be bringing back to you at a later time. But I'll be sharing information nationally and state and local. We'll be providing a briefing for you soon with more information on that, because this has just been a quickly developing issue over the last 2 weeks. We're still waiting for guidance and further information from the state on what enforcement will look like as this rule and order goes into effect.
Anything on that? Anything?
I guess I would like to know when this happens, when you give us this briefing, what is the difference between, I guess, flavored vaping, marijuana vaping, and nicotine vaping? Does somebody have that information that they can brief the board on?
Yes, absolutely. And I can provide some of that in my report today. I have that information, and we'll include that in more detail
Okay.
in an upcoming briefing that you have. Yes, vaping and e-cigarettes can contain nicotine, can contain THC, often have flavored components, sometimes in combination. Sometimes there's other chemicals, additives, and other things that people add to it. So it's proving to be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, lucrative.
For some.
Yeah, and you may have missed it, but we had a presentation by Department of Health
Yes.
on vaping and Juul and the flavors and all that type of stuff. Very good information. Yeah. And I may have done something this last weekend that neither of you have done, and that was I walked into a marijuana shop and just walked in, and the first thing they said was what? Anybody? Anyone? Show me your ID.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness, okay. Here's my ID, okay. And I saw the State Department of Health warning sign on vaping and e-cigarettes or whatever. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Big red X, skull and crossbones. Don't do it, don't do it. And I thought that was very interesting.
but
I
if you
didn't
do
know-
it, buy it here, huh?
Yeah, but I didn't know the state had put that out, so I was happy to see that. So that's what you're referring to, the governor's directive.
Yes.
Very good. And no, I didn't make any purchase, in case anybody's wondering. I did not make any purchase. It was there for research. So that's the health officer report and director's report. That's it.
That is it.
All right, then we will adjourn about 5 o'clock this afternoon. Then we move into, let's move right into the
Thank you.
Board of County Commissioner draft agenda. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Shelley. For next Tuesday, October 15th, 2019. And the first thing we're going to do is call the meeting to order at 2 o'clock and Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Menser again.
Didn't I just do that?
You just did that. You okay with that?
Yeah, whatever it
You have it
takes.
memorized?
Yeah.
Then approval of the agenda and the board meeting minutes from today, and then an opportunity for the public to address the board. And it might be a little bit premature to predict what will come, but we can with certainty predict what will come. If you know what I mean. Then the county manager's update, if there's any follow-up, we'll learn it then. And then consent items A through E. The first one being Human Resources, consider approving Board of Equalization's annual request to convene for the 2019 assessment year.
Right, so the Board of Equalization, in order to begin to hear appeals on property assessments, needs the approval of the Board of County Commissioners to convene. So this is an action that you take every year to convene the BOE so that they can start their hearings on appeals.
Okay. Anything on that?
Sounds straightforward.
And we're all, we have, the board is fully staffed? Of equalization?
Equalization.
We don't have to worry, okay. All right. 3B, Public Health and Social Services, a resolution establishing portions of Thurston County pay and classification study.
So, Public Health and Social Services is requesting to establish 2 half-time positions. I don't know much about these positions, so I can't tell you a lot about them at this time, but I have reached out and asked for clarification, so we have more information on these soon.
Shelley does know something about this, I think.
And she just, oh, there she is. Yeah, I thought you left. You said we can't discuss this.
No, I
in-
waited just for this item in anticipation. You might have some questions.
Thank you.
So actually what this is currently, we are trying to efficiently staff our housing and homeless prevention program. So as you know, we most recently made Tom Webster the permanent program manager of the Office of Housing and Homeless Prevention. Keely Marino is the homeless coordinator. And then we have had a vacant social services 2 position for quite some time that is responsible for helping to monitor and manage our housing contracts. We also have an administrative assistant position that is half-time that provide staffing support to the office as well as to our local community groups. Because we are in kind of a staffing crunch coming up on this busy season that we have ahead, which includes the point-in-time count, we have an existing staff person that meets the qualifications and is very talented, that is currently in the administrative assistant position, that can temporarily fill the social services 2 position to help us do our contract management. And then we need to backfill for administrative support. HR advised that the best way to accomplish this, because it is a temporary move, is to create 2 temporary positions and not fill our existing positions, which are the social services 2 that is vacant is a full-time position, and then the administrative assistant position is a half-time position.
Is that due to Gary Aiden's retirement and/or the passing of one of our employees?
We are still
Combination.
recovering from the impacts of that for a long time. This team has been understaffed, and as of late, as you kind of heard, we have had a lot going on with this issue in the community and a lot of work ahead of us in this busy season. But we're attempting to kind of fill those positions with existing talent that we have, and then since Tom is now new in this program manager position, we'll be able to build the best team with the right positions going forward, so that we're adequately staffed for the work, and we can quickly and efficiently monitor the contracts for the funds that we're responsible for.
Yeah, losing 2 employees, that was a heavy hit. Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
And what revenue
Depends what he says.
stream is this gonna
Okay.
affect?
So in this particular case, the establishing of these temporary positions is no additional cost to the county. It's within our existing budget, because we won't be filling those existing positions which are already approved. So
Salary savings.
and the specific funding source varies. It's out of Fund 1400. Part of the position is funded by document recording fees, 2163, consolidated homeless grant funds, which are state funds, and our administrative indirect rate that is allowable on our other state and federal housing funds. So all existing funding, no additional cost, no general fund for these positions or anything like that.
But, so why is it that you're not just filling them into the positions that are there? Like, why are they, what's the point of them being temporary?
That's a really good question. We spent a lot of time talking to HR about the best possible solution there. And one reason is because we have an existing full-time position, and the employee that we have is only available to work part-time, so we'd have to underfill that position and backfill the administrative assistant position, and really wanted the opportunity we do need to fully staff that position, and we wanted the opportunity for Tom as the new manager to be able to plan that out, because we will also need to be hiring now for Tom's position, since he's moved into the program manager position. So really it was that it would take a lot more time, and we wouldn't be able to utilize the existing talents of Nicole Boyce, who's in the administrative assistant position, that could utilize that. So HR could probably better answer the question as far as exactly why that is the best path forward, or I don't know if, Robin, you have any insight into that?
I knew nothing about this, so I cannot comment.
But
That's
Maria
the
Aponte is-
advice that they gave us,
Yeah.
and so in a year we'll have the chance to assess that, and either move back to the permanent positions, or not, or these temporary positions will expire and staff will revert to their former positions.
Okay.
So these are positions with end dates?
Yes.
And what are the end dates? Are they in here?
1 year.
December.
December 31st
Okay.
next
Oh,
year.
right, yep, right there.
And HR Director Maria Aponte and her team have researched and analyzed this with you. And this, I don't say recommendation, but this is the best advice you've received from HR?
Yes, we met with Aaron Moe and Lauren Spurgeon at least twice on this particular issue to discuss what our needs were for the team, and this is what they advised was going to be the best path forward for us.
And I might just add, just as a side note, that you've invoked Tom Webster's name twice, and he is invaluable.
Yes,
He truly
we're-
is. He's a huge help, especially on the CIP and all these other related issues.
Thank you, yes.
Good man.
I'll pass that on to him. We're very happy to have him
Thank you.
in this position.
Anything else, Commissioner?
No, sir.
Anything else? Okay. And we're okay to keep that on consent?
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
And if you have further questions, I will be here at agenda setting next week as well, and I can bring forward additional information to make that a little bit more clear to you and the public.
Should there be any other questions come up?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. That takes us to 3C, Human Resources, Resolution Setting Benefit Contributions for Employees for 2020.
So this item, you may recall that you had a briefing on the medical benefits for county employees and set the standard plans. This adopts that resolution that sets the standard plans and establishes the rates for those plans.
I remember the discussion about the percentage versus
Right.
I didn't remember the discussion about the plans.
So the standard plans, that's where we select, I think there are either three or four
Oh, yeah.
standard plans that the county pays the full premium for, and three non-standard plans where the employee pays a portion of the premium. And the board, the increase in the premiums is 4%. It's set by the PEB, the Public Employee Benefits Board. So 4% is the amount that the PEB has announced is the increase in the overall cost of medical insurance for our employees. The county, we have, I believe, 7 plans that employees can choose from. We'll have an open enrollment period in November, and the board is asked which plans the county will pay the full premium for. And we included the 4% in the budget. The 4% increase is already in the budget. Is this not ringing any
Nope.
bells?
I will
It's not.
educate myself by next week.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I must have
we'll
missed
make
that
sure.
one.
It's possible that you were not
Yep.
at that, but
As I recall, and I won't
Double
speak for
check.
the board right now, speak for me, but we, after chewing this up, we opted, as I recall, to benefit the employee,
right.
so it's not costing them or their family more money, that we would keep that cost going.
That's
And it
right.
would benefit the family
So the
and the employee.
choice that was made at the time, the direction given by the board, you of course have not voted on it yet, but the direction that staff were given was to maintain the same 4 plans as the standard plans. You could choose to move one out, that was option B, and that would be an additional cost to county employees.
Right.
So we'll make sure you
I'll take
get
a
more
look, yep.
information on that.
Anything?
Nope, we went through it.
Okay, that takes us to 3D, Emergency Services, Resolution for Disposal of Excess Medic 1 Emergency Medical Services Equipment.
Right. So the county has equipment, or Medic One has equipment, that has reached the end of its useful life for the purposes that the county uses it for. But we have a history of when we have surplus equipment, asking other jurisdictions, like the fire districts, if they have a use for our vehicles. If the fire districts are interested, then we instead of disposing them through an auction, we surplus them to these other government entities. We're allowed to do that by state law. So it's what we do whenever we have these vehicles, and I'm sure that Kurt could say more about them if you have questions.
Go ahead.
I guess I'd ask Kurt to come up just for a second and ask him a question.
Good morning,
I've got
Commissioner.
one too.
What's
Go
that?
ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Harden, Emergency Services.
And this has been reviewed by whom and recommended by whom?
This has been recommended by the EMS Council to the Board of County Commissioners. And the history behind this is every surplus action that we've done for fire agencies has come in front of the board, and we're trying to streamline the process. And what triggered this is we have approximately 116 they call them ruggedized tablets, but I found that the fire service knows how to take ruggedized tablets and make them non-operational pretty fast. But anyway, we're surplusing those, and in order, rather than take these piecemeal in front of the board each time, we're looking for the policy to allow us to just take EMS equipment that's reached the end of its useful life and surplus it out to fire agencies.
That it?
And that's all been authorized by the board.
That was one of my questions. Commissioner?
Good.
This is going to seem kind of off the wall, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because I'm just compelled to. When I worked in Southern California, I almost hated to say that,
That was a long time ago.
with the police department, when we surplused old police uniforms, police equipment, fire trucks, police cars, and they were being surplused, we were able to give those to Mexico because they can't afford those types of things. And so is that something we ever do?
It is not something we've looked at. We can definitely take a look at it, but typically our fire agencies usually grab these first. And we've never, with the exception of one vehicle recently that was in such poor condition that even the fire agencies passed on it. So, and it's going through the normal surplus process here at the county. But typically, we don't have much left over that the fire agencies don't take.
Okay, and I'm not going to opine on the political issue of Mexico at all, but however, it is an honor for a national to become a police officer. But when you become a police officer, you're granted the authority by the state, but if you have a police card and you have a flat tire, you buy your own tire. You have a cracked windshield, you buy your own windshield. You buy your own gasoline. You take care of your own vehicle maintenance. You take care of your own repair of your uniforms, unlike this country. And so that's why when somebody gets stopped and the officer says, well, you've been stopped for speeding, but if you give me $20 now, we consider that corruption and graft and gratuity, but they take it and put it right back into their car or their uniform. So it's a different culture, a different lifestyle, but that's why we would donate a fair amount of stuff down to Mexico. But I just don't know if we do that here at all.
So state law governs how counties dispose of property, and it would not be appropriate for the county to donate our property to a foreign country. We have very strict rules that we have to follow on
Even though
how
there's
we
no value
dispose
to the
of
county at all
assets.
for that asset.
Even when there's no value, we're required to follow very strict procedures on how we dispose of property to other local jurisdictions within our area. That is allowed for in state law.
I know Canada wouldn't want our junk.
Don't,
I
yeah,
don't want to go to the
I don't
landfill
think.
or a costume shop. Go ahead, Gary.
I guess I'd like to just point out that the taxpayers continue to receive benefit from this equipment as it's passed down and continues the usage of that equipment at really a savings to the junior taxing districts and such. So it's a benefit to
Oh, I get
continue
that,
this,
I get
yeah.
that, but if nobody wanted something, rather than just dump it, it would
Well,
go somewhere.
it goes to surplus sales at that
Right.
point.
At
So-
that point, we have to send things out to auction.
Yeah, I understand, okay.
Correct.
This says tablets? Are we,
The tablets are, well, that's what drove the initial discussion, is we have, like I said, ruggedized tablets, about 100.
ruggedized? What does that mean?
That means they're supposed to be non-breakable, but like I said, EMS, fire service folks know how to,
So we're
Just-
talking about like an iPad or something?
correct,
Okay.
correct.
You can run over it and it'll still work.
And the
Sometimes.
ruggedized is you know how we've got these what are they called?
The
You know,
case
on
or
your
cover.
phone, little cases, yeah.
Yeah.
The ruggedized cases are kind of bulky and heavy-duty rubber, and you can toss it down. You can still break them, but
Yes.
it's much harder to do so.
These
Okay.
have been in service for over 5 years, and they're with our old patient charting software platform. And so I will tell you, we originally bought 116, we're surplusing 100, and we gave 8 to one of the fire agencies, or that's the plan, to give 8 to one of the fire agencies. So about 8 of them over the last 5 years, somebody's found a way to make them non-operational. And it takes a lot to make a ruggedized tablet non-operational.
Gotcha.
So,
Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you,
okay,
Kurt.
thank you.
3E is the financial services, the voucher list, and we'll look at that when we get it. Then we move into agenda item number 4, department items, CPED, authorized history book grant program.
So this item is requesting that the board create a new grant program, and we have a discussion on this later in your morning agenda. So I would ask that we wait until that time so you can hear more about it.
Okay.
Have we discussed this yet? I know about it, but have we
I know
talked about
about
it
it.
publicly?
I mean, it's an ongoing activity.
I
as far as
discussed
know.
it with the Historic Preservation Commission members that came to see me, but we haven't, I don't think we've discussed it.
I don't think we've had a briefing on it, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You want to wait then?
It's on the agenda for this morning, yes.
I see that, okay. Agenda item number 5, Public Works, setting a public hearing.
So this would be a public hearing on some changes to the Thurston County Code, Chapter 1506, regarding the storm and surface water utility rates. I don't see anyone here from Public Works to
Hang on,
speak
let me
to
look.
this item.
Is this that set of things like Zainab was coming in with about and Tim Wilson, and didn't we
Yeah.
send it back for more revision?
I think so, but I'm not certain.
I know
So
we've tangled
I'm-
with this twice, and I don't think we ever got it like
I know.
sorted through.
This is one of those items where I can't take you back.
Yeah.
So we'll get more information for you on this.
And that's next week anyway, this is next
Right.
week, so we got time to work on
This is next week, so we've
that.
got a little time to work on it.
All right.
I believe this has to do with those vacated right-of-ways and such that, you know, where
Well, they were like-
there's a development and there's a road going down through the middle, and,
There were several elements, but that was the one we got kind of hung up on.
yeah, I think that's it.
I don't remember if we've resolved
I
it.
don't recall the conversation myself, so it may have been at a time when I was not here, but we'll make sure we
I
get.
think it was a time you were not here, you're right. But if this is our third time and we don't understand it, then there's some real issues.
It's like simple but complicated at the same
Yeah.
time somehow.
And it's not a commentary on them,
Yeah.
Right.
but it's on the issue, not even on us, it's on the issue itself. All right, will you reach out to them?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
And then we move into the county, this is not agenda item number 6, county manager update, or not update, but an ordinance to implement retaining a portion of the sales tax.
So this is to
1406.
implement, this is to implement a, so I hesitate because this is not a new tax, so I'm going to clarify right up
Yep.
front. It's not a new tax. What this motion would do is to shift an amount from our sales tax that currently goes to the state of Washington. A small amount, instead of going to the state, would be retained by the county, and that amount of money would be used for affordable and supportive housing purposes. This is allowed under legislation passed by the state legislature, House Bill 1406, and the board has already made the statement that it is your intention to do this. That statement's already been made. This would be the resolution that would implement the shift, if you will, in taxes. And it's, by law, the language in the RCW is to impose a tax, but we're trying to make it very clear there is not a new tax being imposed.
Somehow that can make it into here, into the wording.
It says
We could,
retaining.
yeah,
Yeah.
we would be retaining a portion that would have gone to the state of Washington.
Okay.
I think that's properly worded.
It is properly worded. I just don't want to get lost that this is not a new tax. But, okay. Questions or comments on this issue, this item?
Nope.
No, we've had plenty of discussion on it. I think it's just a formality to get this step in place.
Right.
And I think it has to do with the other jurisdictions, coordinating with the other jurisdictions.
It's coordinated with the other jurisdictions, and last Friday I had a luncheon with the county, not just North County, but the county mayors, and we discussed the 1406 House bill and the retention of tax dollars. And I thanked Olympia and Tumwater, I believe it was, for pulling back their resolution, their intent and resolution legislative piece, so that we can go about it in an orderly fashion and coordinate. So it's that coordinating factor. So that was well received. Very good. Okay. Then we move on with the Commissioner's report, and then we adjourn. And then we move into public hearings. This is next week again, October 15th at 3 p.m., a public hearing to amend Thurston County Code 2.02 relating to the special meeting times of the Board of County Commissioners.
In this item, the proposed change to Thurston County Code is to clarify what your regular meeting times are, the special meeting, and to have the, to again clarify in the county code when the board would have regular meetings that are not within the county seat. So those are the changes being proposed and are open to review that will be discussed at the public hearing.
Anything on that, Ty?
Nope.
Gary?
Oh, I guess I'd just mention that that's going to give us more flexibility in the future, and future boards more flexibility.
We're not having Board of Health, are we?
That's what I'm looking at, the dates here. We have a Board of Health this afternoon, 8th of October.
No, but we're having
It
a
shows here we have a Board of Health.
I think that's a mistake.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
that
gotta
needs to come off.
It's confusing me. So after, any other questions on that public hearing regarding our special meeting times? No?
No.
Then we move into a public hearing at 5:30, Community Planning and Economic Development.
This is a public hearing on the comprehensive plan update, and I would defer to Josh Cummins, who is here in the room and could speak a little more about this.
Good
morning.
always try to avoid coming to the table.
Joshua Cummings, Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. This public hearing is the next step on the approval of the periodic plan on the update for the comprehensive plan. So this is just that time when the citizens have a chance to come in and provide their comments, and Maya Teeple will be our staff representative accepting those comments on those 5 chapters and 6 elements that are required by the Washington State Department of Commerce for them to relieve the overdue status from our comprehensive plan listing in their Growth Management Act matrix. So I also believe that after this public hearing, we have a follow-on briefing scheduled for the next day for Maya to review those comments with the Board of County Commissioners, and then we'll think about what the recommendation is from the board thereafter. That's where you will either approve to proceed with passing the comprehensive plan as recommended by the Planning Commission, ask for more input, or provide more discussion. So the public hearing is that first step in just hearing what the public has to say.
It's okay.
Is this going to be a normal public hearing, like with 3 minutes, or are we going to have questions like yesterday? since this is a
The
big topic?
budget hearing is the only public
Only
hearing
one.
where by law you're required to allow the public to
Oh.
ask questions and get answers.
Oh, okay.
So it is unique. So this would be
3
your
minutes, boom,
your
boom, boom.
normal style public hearing.
And we've also been receiving written comments for the past year or so, and Maya will provide those also at the briefing the day after. And citizens are welcome to provide any of those comments up to that public hearing date.
Can we, I'm not sure how much you're getting. I know some of the ones you've gotten, but the timing of all this, like if there's a lot of written comment to disseminate, I'd like, either get it in advance, or if you're saying we're going to have a briefing the next day, I mean, that is, if it's more than, this is digestible in an hour, then I'd like to have it more than a day before we have to discuss it.
Yeah, I think that the intent is to try and collate all the comments at one time instead of kind of giving it piecemeal. So we've got them. The written comments
Yeah.
are being submitted to the board. They can be reviewed at any time, but then we'll present that whole packet to you the day after the public hearing.
I know with
And then-
Summit Lake, we got like a big thick packet, like, I don't know, a day or two before, and it was great. I was able to read the written comments before I heard the oral comments, and it kind of framed, I thought that was helpful.
I'll check in
But
with staff.
there was a lot, there was like 100 comments. Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
And we won't be deciding anything that day.
not during the
We're
public
gonna close
hearing.
the public hearing. And you reckon this will be a packed house?
Unclear at this time, but there are a number of topics, even outside of the scope of this Chapter 6 periodic update, the core items that the community is engaged on. So it's going to be an exercise in understanding the boundaries of this public hearing versus the larger discussion on the comprehensive plan.
Okay. And I might add that Maya Teeple is cracking smart.
Agreed.
Smart lady. That's it?
That's it.
That's it? Okay.
Thanks.
That takes care of the agendas for today and for next week. And we're going to move right into, before we take a break, proclamations and awards.
La Bonita Bomar, Clerk of the Board. We have already discussed for today, we're having the Cybersecurity Awareness Month with the Auditor Mary Hall, and Prosecutor John Thunheim's office will have the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I have two proposed proclamations for November for you to review. They're in draft form. The first one is the Ira L. Carter VFW Post 318, an auxiliary Centennial Day. This proclamation is the first time I've received one from this post. They were created, or actually founded, in Olympia, Washington, in November 8th, 1919.
On November 8th.
On November.
On November 8th.
Not in, on. Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Got it.
Can I comment on that?
On the whole thing, or just?
Well, I just thought
Certainly.
I'd jump in there. The reason you haven't heard anything about this before from this group is this is a centennial issue, so it's the first time this has ever come up.
Okay.
So if I may ask, who was this requested by?
It was actually requested by Mr. Ira Cater, who I believe is the son or something.
Thank you for
Or
that
grandson.
clarification.
Well, Amy Buckley is also the commander out
The
there.
commander.
Yes,
She was also involved.
Ms. Buckley, I understood, but I was just a little surprised to see one of the requesters was
So this is for
Ira
November.
Carter, but if it's his son, then that makes a little more sense.
And would you imagine there will be a contingent from the VFW here for
I
that?
would think so.
Yes.
I would imagine. Okay.
They've been working on this since the beginning of the year as to how they're going to have, and what citizens will be here.
Good. All right. Questions or comments on that?
It's just for your review at this time.
Okay.
The
No,
next-
I think it's a good idea.
Next?
Next proclamation I received is the honor and empower the centennial anniversary of Zonta International. That too has been requested for November 8th. What you have in your packet is a draft of that proclamation. Pam Ditloff, who used to work in the Roads and Transportation Department, is the one that is bringing this request forward.
Oh, nice. Okay. So we'll have a chance to look at this and
Yes.
provide feedback if there's
Yeah.
any. Questions or comments on that one?
No.
Nope.
No, I think it's a good idea. It's their
Good, thank you.
centennial as well.
Yes.
Great.
Then, is that all the, you have for proclamations?
Yes, sir.
Advisory boards?
I have for new applications, I have a Molly Carmody,
Carmody. Uh-huh.
thank you.
She's
And-
a Yelm City Council person.
Oh, okay, thank you. She has submitted her application for the Planning Commission in District 2. And that is all of the applications that I have received to date for the Planning Commission. Or any of the boards and commissions to date. I have not received anything regarding the Timberland Regional Library
Oh, really?
or the others, not as of yet.
So one of the, the salary commission, I guess it was my assistant had a conversation with Ruth from the
Ruth
salary
Elder.
commission. And this came up before, but I guess now we're getting even further in the process to where, like, they need, according to their statute, they need 6 active members to even be able to have a legal vote. They only have 5 they have 8 members appointed, but 2 of them don't, or 3 of them are like basically MIA. So they only have 5 people that are like there and can vote, which would not make any of their decisions valid. So if we can't recruit
Which
the
position?
salary commission, if we can't recruit, replace some of the inactive members or fill the business or legal open slots, we're not going to be able to have a salary commission that can act.
We had a discussion, was it last year or the year before, with Elizabeth regarding the members of the Salary Commission. And she did quite a bit of legal research on the required number of members and how the vote would work. So we should probably check in with her. I think it's a very good idea to fill those positions, but as far as what a legal vote would be, I would recommend that we check in with Elizabeth.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm guessing that this information came probably from that, and because part of what I was shown was the statutory section that read pretty clearly, but
She investigated that. We did at first think that having those vacancies would preclude the commission from making a legal vote, but Elizabeth advised us otherwise. So again, let's check in with her and see exactly what the requirements are.
okay.
If we have
Just letting everybody know.
people nominated
I'm not going to
and
recruit.
ready
I'm not going to
and-
recruit anybody. I've been trying
Right.
to ask other people, who, just letting people know this is out there so they can find an appropriate person. I don't think it's appropriate for me to look for anybody, but I'm just letting everybody
Right.
know that it could be an
We need
issue because
people.
that's coming up.
In the past, for the positions that require a certain skill set, like the legal and the HR position, we had a recommendation for people, for the at-large positions, if you will. Don't those come through the auditor? There's a process
There's a
that we use
process.
with the auditor.
Yes.
But certain positions require certain qualifications, if you will, so
Can we
like
send-
the legal.
I feel like we already talked about this in the spring, but
Yes.
did we send a notice to the chamber and the bar association?
Yes, I did, and I have
Okay.
not heard anything back from either one.
All right.
Right.
I don't know what
So,
else to do.
so I would just like to check in with Elizabeth and see what a quorum consists of and what a legal vote is. But we absolutely should fill the positions if we could.
Any questions on that?
Well,
Or
no, I
comments
mean,
on
other
that?
than I do remember this discussion with Elizabeth, and the quorum became the majority of members present.
That's what I believe she
And
said.
that kind of doesn't match exactly with what you're saying, but she
What I
came up
read,
with
it
that.
basically-
We had the same question
It
before.
explicitly said that a vote requires 6, there was, the 6 was in there. Like, it wasn't a formula like majority of the members, it was 6 members for a valid vote, something akin to that, but I'll defer to Elizabeth, of course.
Well,
I'd like to back up to the top on the planning commission. We have one vacancy or two?
one.
So at this point, it's between these two applicants.
Yes, sir.
I thought we'd said we were going to hold it like a
Yeah,
month or
Yes.
so.
Is that what
just-
we're doing?
Just to make sure we
Just to
have,
make, yes,
Give somebody
So we have a
some
good
time.
pool for what, 6 months, 3 months? What did we say?
a month.
just a month or so.
month?
I thought.
Okay, good.
It's up to you guys, but I mean,
That's
I
fine
think
with
we need
me.
to fill it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but I'd like to have choices.
Okay,
Is that it?
that is it.
Thank you, Law. PIO check-in. Megan,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. So we've had a small team get together to narrow down the website RFP applicants. We went through and scored them and narrowed them down to the top 3. I've invited them to do demos. We're going to be inviting all of the web coordinators to come and watch those demos and provide us with feedback. And then that small group will be making the final decision and working through the contract with them. So hopefully we'll have something in place by the end of the year. That's the goal. It's exciting. Last week, TC Media installed a new streaming device. It seems to be working significantly better than the old one. Viewers hopefully will notice that now your faces match the sound. So your lips and the audio match now, which is excellent, and it's starting much quicker. So hopefully
Nice.
that continues.
now we'll get the gold instead of the silver. Streaming award.
Last Wednesday, 27 participants across the county started the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt training. This is actually a big benefit to the county because during that 10-week class, it could be an individual person or a group will be working on a project that will benefit the county in one of the offices or departments. We have 4 representatives from the BoCC on those classes, so something good will come out of that for this.
Oh,
for
wait,
this
time out,
office.
time out. So my executive aide is in that class and should be tasked with working on a different project now.
Yes, we'll be doing a project
Wonderful.
as either a team or an individual will
Okay.
choose a project, but it will benefit our office. So generally,
Perfect.
the projects are going to benefit the group that the person's working in, so it will be a benefit.
Very cool for the
Yeah.
employees.
It's cool for the employees and it's cool for the county because then it's just a new, Lean is basically a project management tool and it'll help us streamline processes even more, so.
This is the second cohort of lean training in the county. Both the county manager and I graduated from the first cohort. It's really
Yes.
great to be able to do this.
It's great for employee development.
Yes.
Great, and for the county.
Yes. Commissioner Menzer's Thurston County Connection video is in its last cut. Neil's going to be getting that back soon, then he'll send that on to you for review. We're hoping to have that out by the end of this week is the goal. And then Neil's going to be working with Commissioner Hutchings to schedule the next taping of Thurston County Connection. After Commissioner Hutchings, we won't do one in December, and then
Ooh,
January.
I dropped the mic? After mine, I dropped the mic.
Pretty much.
Wow.
And then in January, we'll do the commissioners panel again. Citizens seem to really enjoy that, so we'll do that one in January, and then start the cycle over again probably in February. Any questions for me?
No.
Commissioner Menzler, go
I had
ahead.
a question about the website piece. So how long is it, when can we expect a result from that? Like, how long does this whole process take to get someone selected, and then how long is their time frame for doing this to work?
So the three that we are having come back and provide demos, their timeline would be an 8 to 12 month implementation phase. So the goal is by the end of next year to have a new website. The demos are at the end of this month and the beginning of November, so we'll need to wait until those are through before we can decide who the top applicant is. Then we'll have to work through the contract process, bring that to you guys for approval, and then they'll be able to start work. All of them, their timeline started in January.
Okay.
So it may be a bit ambitious to say that it's an 8 to 12 month implementation timeline, but I think as long as we get buy-in from all of the offices and departments, and we have staff that can actually dedicate some time to this project, that it's doable.
Big if right there, right? Hopefully we do.
And I'm not harping, however, again, about microphones, and last week I believe you said it's gone out to RFP or it's gone out for bid.
No, we're going to be actually, it's not gone out for bid. We've had someone come in and kind of look at the room and provide us with an idea of what we may need to have done. A small group of us are going to be going, me with IT basically, we're going to be going and visiting DOT, their headquarters building in Tumwater, because they have the setup that this company is suggesting that we put in here. So we're going to actually go out, look at it, see how it actually works, and then see how it connects with the broadcasting, and then we'll start talking about how we can implement that.
So not by next week, but hopefully maybe by the first of the year or something?
I hope so.
We might have some?
We'll
Okay.
have something, yeah.
Thank you.
If not, it actually in here, we'll have a plan in place.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Megan, that's it. Anything else? No? Then at this point, it is 10:20, I'll call it 10:20. We'll take a 10-minute break. We're in recess for 10 minutes, we'll be back at 10:30. Thank you. All right, thank you. Welcome back. It is still October the 8th, 2019, and we're continuing on with the Board of County Commissioners work session. And the next thing on the agenda is briefing or public hearing decisions that are pending. Now, so I'll divert my attention to the Assistant County Manager.
So we have, forgetting unmuted. There we go. So we have no pending decisions at this time.
Now moving into commissioner items. The first one is the Historic Commission, the book grant.
So,
and we also have that on the agenda that we're putting on pause. We hit the pause button.
Right. It's on next week's agenda,
Yeah.
but Josh is here to tell you more about this proposal.
Morning, Commissioners. Joshua Cummings again, Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. Within Community Planning and Economic Development, CPED, we have a number of items that our staff are engaged in: permit planning, long-range planning, the fair, WSU extension, water planning. But in all of those staffing issues, we also are connected with a number of volunteer boards and commissions. One of those boards and commissions is the Historic Commission, and the Historic Commission is made up of citizen volunteers that dedicate their time to ensuring that the history of Thurston County is captured and is disseminated throughout the county. One of the projects that this group has been working on diligently for, I guess, since 2013 has been the historic book. And I just wanted to provide a kind of a brief overview and some thank yous, and then to discuss the next steps. So first off, here is, drum roll please, the book.
Ta-da!
Ta-da.
For the camera. So the Board of County Commissioners received a briefing about a year ago, and we had a draft of this. And the Board of County Commissioners at that time provided pretty clear direction: go, get it done, get it printed. And our CPED staff, I wanted to say thank you to them for their creativity in staying within legal bounds to find a path to use the money that was set aside in the Historic Commission budget to get this book printed, and we were able to do that. So that is the number one first hurdle. Thank you to the guidance from the board to get it done. Thank you to the staff for their creativity. And that's, the humans in that discussion are Kami Peterson and Jeremy Davis, along with Travis Burns, our prosecuting attorney. So those three folks worked so hard to find a path forward. Like I said, this had been going on since 2013. And so that we were able to achieve the first draft completed in the fall of 2018 was a huge hurdle that was accomplished. The other main huge thank you I'd like to say is to the Historic Commission themselves. The tenacity that this group provided, the input, the care for the community, and this project in particular, I think has just been stellar and kind of an example of what we hope our boards and commissions can provide in their volunteer work. We have a member of the Historic Commission here in the audience with us, Sandy Crowell. She's also the editor-in-chief of this book. And at some point, if you'd like to bring her up, that's great. But I'd like to proceed through the next steps, and then maybe we could check in with Sandy if you'd like.
I'd like that, yes.
Great. So we got the book printed. Success. The next part is, we said to our prosecuting attorney, how do we get this book into the hands of the public? It has to, at least pay for itself, but the county can't dispose of this very easily. It was considered a gifting of public funds. And so we needed to come up with a creative path to get this book out into the hands of our citizens. And the path that, again, I want to say thank you to Jeremy and Travis. The path that was decided upon was the template that was already built within the Historic Commission, which is our grant process. So we have a legally approved grant process that the Board of County Commissioners already votes on annually to provide grants to the community in terms of works done. So previously you've granted works for the Tenino steps to be re-cemented to have safety, or other items, the archiving of YWCA photographs. Yeah. So a number of different items that every year there's an application that organizations, nonprofits provide to the Historic Commission. The Historic Commission reviews those grant applications, makes a recommendation based on the budget amounts that they have, provides that recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, and then the Board of County Commissioners approves that recommendation. And so what we decided within CPED, and then ran it through our legal channels, was how about we go out for a historic book grant and see if there are organizations in the community, nonprofits, that would be willing to take this book on and then distribute, advertise, and sell the book. And I'll hand the mic over to Jeremy to provide more details on the actual process. But essentially, the concept is the same path that we have for the Historic Commission grants is the same path that we're taking for the Historic Book Grant. And so the question that will come before you that was kind of put on pause for the October 15th discussion on the voting is to whether or not to let the grant out to have the book, the Historic Book Grant, begin, the grant process. There are some questions that I defer to the Assistant County Manager in terms of state auditors' perspectives and things that we need to gain knowledge on that. But from our perspective in the legal portion of it, we've gotten up to the point where we think we've got a process, and just making sure that we honor whatever the next steps are we're completely engaged in that. So I guess we have kind of two options. You could hear maybe the concerns of the Assistant County Manager or the details from Jeremy Davis on the template. Thoughts on that, Robin?
I would suggest that the board hear the details, and then I can just let them know that what we're tracking.
Before you begin, though, I think it should be noted, if you hold the book up again, that the cover photo credits should go to, they go to Jeremy Davis. He took that photo about 7 or 8 years ago. I may have just made that up, I'm not sure. But I have purchased a couple of these books and given them as gifts, and now I want to purchase a couple more. It is a beautiful book. Well done, very well done. Have you seen it?
Yep, they
Yeah.
gave me a,
And this process is to make that book available for purchase, so that's what
Yes.
we're hoping to do. Any other questions before I let Jeremy
No.
jump in?
Questions before we jump in? Nope, okay, there you
Good,
go.
I'm ready.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Jeremy Davis with Community Planning and Economic Development. Thanks for having me here this morning. So some of the details, Josh actually gave a great overview of it. I don't have a lot to add to that. But really, the genesis of this did come from the county existing Heritage Grant Program, and that actually proved to be the template for both the application and the guidelines that were produced for it in the process. This whole the whole program itself is actually geared toward providing that historic education that is called for in the initial funding source provided by the state auditor's fee. The focus of this will be on a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, or a government entity that has the capability of doing retail sales. And that's one of the key points of this, is that if we're going to distribute the book as a county, we have to be able to do retail sales, which we're not set up to do. Hence the need to seek a third party who can do that. The other focus will be someone who can manage the book supply, also distribute the book, someone who can come up with an advertising plan for it to get it out there with the public, and also someone who's willing to coordinate with the editors and the authors on any public book signings or public events that may happen to get the book out there in the hands of the public. Another focus of this is how are they going to use the proceeds of the book sale? Because we don't want to look at this as a gift to public fund, we're going to have someone develop an educational program on how they're going to use those proceeds. They're going to have to tell us, the county, and report out to us how they use the funding that they've raised through the sale of the book. Okay? We're not expecting to get any money back on this book from the grantee, or hopefully no books back. I hope they all sell. And the available materials for this book grant as of right now are 465 books. Those are the remaining books after we've handed out copies to the authors and to the copyright holders as required by our agreements with them. The application process would be the same as the Heritage Grant Program. We would advertise that the grant is available. We'll have a start date, an end date. The Historic Commission will review those grant applications, and then we'll bring them to the Board of County Commissioners for final approval, as we do with the Heritage Grant Program. There'll be an application involved with this. Again, like the Heritage Grant Program, the application itself was based on that grant. I thought, why try and reinvent the wheel if we already have a good wheel running? So, and the main project category on this again is education. It's educating the citizens of Thurston County and getting that knowledge of our rich Thurston County history out in the hands of the public so they know why we're here and who's been here before us. And I can tell for myself of doing genealogical research on my own family that these sort of books prove to be a great help to those folks doing that when they're trying to seek out their past family and where they've been and what they've done.
You're probably in it, aren't you?
I wouldn't doubt the family's in there, but I don't know if I'm in there.
So the timeline right now, of course, is very flexible. You'll see in the memorandum, we have a timeline of this going out to the public soon. That, of course, is flexible depending on board approval. But hopefully we'll have, if it does go forward, we would try to have Historic Commission review of the book at their meeting in November, which is November 13th. And we'll try to bring it to the board as soon thereafter, depending on, of course, the Historic Commission's timing of it, their review of the grant applications, and of course the timing of all the right folks to be in the room when the board makes that decision. Because we really want to thank those authors and the editor who put so much of their time into creating this book. It really, I think, is a work of love for them. I can try and speak for Sandy, so, or labor of love for them. They've done a great job, and I've read some of the book, and it's really nice. So with that, I don't really have any more details. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Do we think that there's groups like, I mean, is this kind of like, oh, throwing it out there and hoping we get a bite on this? Or do we sort of know that there's groups that would be interested, or just curious?
Well, we've heard that the Olympia Historical Society and the Bigelow House Museum may be interested in it.
Okay.
But there are other folks out there who may or may not be interested. You have the Lacey Museum, although I'm not certain if they're set up for retail sales.
Mhm.
There's also the Tenino Museum, which I believe may be able to do retail sales. We'd have to check on it. So there are groups who are interested in it. I'm not certain after they read the guidelines if they'll still want to supply an application for it. We'll see.
Right.
So, but I'm really hopeful for it.
So the answer is yes, we believe there's organizations, but the goal here is an open and competitive process.
Sure. No, I understand. I'm sort of thinking worst case scenario, because we're asking them. These are probably the groups that you just identified are very small groups, not a lot of manpower. We're asking for a marketing publicity plan. I mean, they may have other priorities and not feel that's within, or that may just, you know. So then I'm just trying to thinking ahead of what we would do at that point. But hopefully this will be successful.
How many authors are there?
I think if you like,
7?
would you like to have Sandy come?
Please, yes. Thank you, Sandy. And the reason I ask is when Josh mentioned, or Jeremy mentioned, book signing. I didn't know how many there would be involved, just wondering.
Yes, my name is Sandra Kroll, and I'm on the Thurston County Historic Commission. I'm also a regional author of this would be my 3rd regional history book that I've been involved in.
Wow.
And I'm very happy to be here and most pleased with what Josh and Jeremy have put together for a contract so we can get the book out and push it out there.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards?
I'm just wondering how I can get Sandy to sign one of those books and get it today, being she's here. How can I do that? I got my wallet,
We need to keep moving through the process in the most appropriate manner.
so I can't
Yeah.
just buy one from Sandy today and have her sign it.
Not today.
No, not today, please.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, want to get ahead of things.
And Sandy, are you one of, go ahead, Robin.
No, please.
No, I forgot where I was going to go. Now, you're in constant, are you one of the tenacious people
Yes.
involved in the
Yes.
Historic Commission, along with
Yes.
Ken Balsley?
Well, the authors, sadly, a couple of people have already passed on, Sharon Edwards, Sharon Matthews, and Les Eldridge,
Yeah.
before they got to see
Oh,
the
yeah.
outcome of the book. They did get, Les got a copy, though, before he passed, so that was a good thing. And what was your question? May I refer back to that?
Is Ken one of the, he's another tenacious one, but you're
No,
in contact with him?
he's not involved with the book. He's on the board, but
He's on the
he's
board,
not
okay.
one of the authors.
Because he's the one that accosted me and Fred Meyer. I mean, contacted
Yes,
me, I'm
yes,
sorry, in the
yes,
beans
yes.
aisle or something, talking about this issue. And that's why we're here today, which I think is, I mean, it needs to get out. It needs to be available to the community.
Absolutely.
It's a brilliantly written book.
And I think really what one of the key things about this is the caliber of the authors. Don Trosper, Shanna Stevenson, Jennifer and Drew Crooks, Gary Alexander. these are people who are published and know their stuff, they're historians. And for them to volunteer, for everybody to volunteer their time and effort. Shirley Sterling is a local artist who did all the layout and design. And another one of our board members, Chris Colton, did endless fact-checking and proofreading. And another author was Karen Johnson, too, from the brewery.
Now, I know two Karen Johnsons.
Yes.
Dr.
Olympia Tumwater Foundation,
Okay, all right.
Schmidt House.
Go ahead.
So my only concern is that because the book is considered a county asset that was purchased with restricted funds, we have to ensure the safeguarding and proper handling of the asset and the resulting revenue from the sales. So the question I pose to financial services is, what is the appropriate monitoring to put it into this program? We absolutely want the book to get out to the public and be available, but the reason I'm saying, no, you can't buy it today is we don't have clear guidance on exactly where that revenue would go. And that's the only, I wouldn't even say it's a concern. We just need that clarity on what the monitoring end needs to be so the county's not exposed to audit finding.
Got it.
And I would say that the goal is to have that clarity before
Yep.
the October 15th
Yep.
vote at the Board
We
of County
already sent
Commissioners.
it over. I sent the question to Deere and Bennett. We're just waiting on a response.
And legal's on it too, Travis?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
He has reviewed it, yes. It's my
So
understanding.
Do you have any other questions or comments?
I
Commissioner
don't,
Menser?
no.
Gary?
Yeah, I want to get the book before we lose more authors.
So So my question at this point is, do we have sufficient time to receive the information we need, or that you need, in order for this to still be on the agenda for next week?
That is the goal. We're going to try to make that happen. We want this to move as quickly as possible.
So if we need to, we'll pull it next Tuesday morning.
If you have to, but the goal is that it will
Okay.
be able to move next week.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions, Sandy, or anybody of the board?
I guess I'd just make one more comment that we have been celebrating every hurdle. When the book was published, the Historic Commission had a small gathering where we had cake and punch, and some of the authors signed the book. So it is unfortunate that we are losing authors, but do know that Les and others had a chance to celebrate this great achievement. And we look to celebrating all of those hurdles and then the final hurdle when we were able to get it out into the community.
So once you held it up, I realized, I don't think that's the book that I've purchased. So I don't think I have one. It was another book that was locally published that I made a contribution for and received a couple copies. But I don't think this one I have yet. So get it done.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Is that it? Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Will you pass the word on to Ken so I don't have to call him? Sure. Okay, thank you.
And I'll pass it on to the other commission members.
Josh, is
Oh,
there
of
any
course,
way
of
you
course.
can leave
Thank
a
you.
book just so we can review it here? Just, you can keep it in inventory.
Give it to
Yes.
Robin, though, don't give it to
Yeah.
Commissioner Edwards, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I can share it with Commissioner Edwards.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thanks, Jeremy. Now, you sticking around, Josh, for the next one?
Yes.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife 5-year ESA review response letter. And you have something to brief us with on this, Robin, first? No?
I will also defer to Josh on this item.
Okay.
Thank you. Should I introduce myself again?
No,
Josh?
please don't.
This will be the third time. So you've got I believe, the information in your packet, the 5-year review letter that we've discussed sending to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So let me take you back to around August 12th. This is in regards to the Federal Register stating that It was time to provide comments on the 5-year review of the species relating to the habitat conservation plan with which we're working here in Thurston County. That's the Mazama pocket gopher, the streakhorn lark, the vesper sparrow, and the Oregon spotted frog. Let's see if I missed any. And the Taylor's checker spot butterfly.
Yep, butterfly.
The discussion at that time was, we weren't aware that this was being let by the federal government, and we did create a letter with 4 quick bullet points on some of the items that we believe the federal government should take into consideration as they're doing this 5-year review status. We submitted that letter on August 12th to the federal government as kind of a placeholder, with the understanding from the regional office and the director there, I believe he's the director, Brad Thompson, that we could provide a more detailed letter to be submitted by October 31st if we so chose as the Board of County Commissioners, if you so chose. So we had a discussion thereafter in August with the Board of County Commissioners, and the board directed staff to use that August 12th letter as the jumping off point and to expand on the details already provided in the 4 bullet points, but not to go any further than those 4 bullet points that we'd already outlined. So what you have in front of you is essentially a more detailed version of the original letter that we sent, with the details in terms of the acreage and the map where we believe some of the conservation efforts have been happening, along with some details on our conservation program that has different requirements that are focused on HCP species that didn't exist when the species was listed 5 years ago. So essentially, this letter is for your review. This letter will come from the Board of County Commissioners. It's what the board directed staff to create in terms of a draft and have it completed and provided to you by the middle of October. And so our team has been diligent and got this letter turned around even quicker, so that you guys were able to review it and then provide your input back to us if there's anything you'd like updated, or to put your signatures on it and provide it to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We're open to take whatever next steps you'd like. This is just our fulfillment of your request to provide this more detailed 5-year review letter.
So at this point, we would be asked to review this and provide any feedback or comment back to you via Romero.
Yes.
And hopefully to get out by the middle of this month, another week or so.
The deadline that the regional office gave us was October 31st, I believe.
Okay. And this is the first time we've seen this draft.
I believe it is.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Mm-hmm. Do you have any?
I'll give them to Ramiro. I do have some, but they're not questions. They're just comments.
Comments
And I'll-
and edit,
Yep.
potential edits, good.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
No, in scanning it, you mentioned sparrow in there, and I just don't see it.
Did I say sparrow?
Wasn't there 5?
Did I say the Vesper sparrow?
Yeah, but you said that, but I don't see it in
It
there.
might have just been in my head as one of the, it's not. Sorry.
Okay.
5-year review of streaked horn lark,
Okay,
pocket
good
gopher
enough.
subspecies, Taylor checker spot butterfly, and Oregon spotted frog. My mind went to some of the other species that we've been discussing previously. Thank you for that clarification. Good call.
Okay.
I thought maybe you were just testing to see if we were paying attention.
Definitely not.
Anything further on that?
No.
Anything further on this?
Nope.
Wow.
So we'll await comments, and then if there are any updates, we'll provide those for this letter and take next steps.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh, very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And for the timeliness of it as well.
Certainly. Good staff.
Yes, very good staff. That takes us to a resolution to oppose initiative I-976.
Right. So it is my understanding that the commissioners are considering a resolution to formally oppose initiative 976. 976 is a proposal that will be before the voters on the November ballot. And the description of that is that the measure would repeal, reduce, or remove authority to impose certain vehicle taxes and fees, limit the annual motor vehicle license fee to $30, except for voter-approved charges, and have base vehicle taxes, the value of the vehicle would be the Kelly Blue Book value, and that would be the basis of taxes imposed. So again, the measure's going to be on the ballot in November, and Romero has drafted a resolution. Now, I'm not sure just at what stage this draft is. We think it's pretty close to complete. So, Robin, would you share with the board? We think that the only thing left to do on this draft is to add a whereas clause that would be a statement on when you hold a public hearing. The board is required to hold a public hearing before you take a position as a legislative authority on a ballot measure. And on your agenda for today, we are setting the public hearing. So the resolution will be completed when Romero returns tomorrow, but I wanted you to be able to see this draft before you take the action to set the public hearing this afternoon.
And the public hearing is set for the 22nd?
Yes, the public hearing would be on October 22nd, and we don't want to delay this because timing is of the essence.
Because the first week of November
Yeah,
is the ballot.
that's the vote.
Ballots are dropping 22nd, I believe.
Yep.
Okay. Has this been vetted by legal yet?
He has been working with Elizabeth on this, yes.
Okay. Questions,
I
comments?
can just say I saw a draft of Lacey's ordinance, and I recognized a lot of the language, so I think that this, if not identical, it's at least heavily consistent with what the city of Lacey intends to adopt this week, so.
I have that on here. All of the other cities are looking at doing the same thing, a resolution. Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have a concern with endorsing anything basically that the state says will happen, not that it won't happen. My concern comes from we've been led astray numerous times by the state over issues like the lottery was supposed to fund schools, and marijuana was going to take care of this, and liquor, and then the activities that Sound Transit Group did on the Kelly Blue Book, in which I feel the public has been tricked quite a few times by government, and therein lies my concern about endorsing something that basically we're affirming that, the state, we agree with the state on everything they do, and I do not. So I know that's just a little piece of it, and I don't know how that's going to fit with this board, if it would be more detrimental to have a split board vote, or if it wouldn't make any difference. I don't know. I know you folks are feeling pretty comfortable with this. I just don't like to mislead my constituents when I vote on something. And the state has tricked us so many times. They don't have much credibility with me. So I know the sky will be falling to a degree if something happens, because there's going to be limited funds here. And it will have an impact, but it's going to force priority setting. We don't have a good record. I mean, I don't know, they built the floating bridge over here and hauled it up around to put it in place, and it sank, and Seattle bought streetcars that don't fit on the rails. And just, there's so many things that government seems not to get right. But what really bothers me is when the lottery was going to fund schools, and gambling was going to, take care of that. And marijuana was going to really give us a boost and all that. And we've just been lied to. That's the bottom line. And that bothers me So to sign on a resolution endorsing what may or may not happen, I'm not sold on it yet. So that's my problem with it.
Tim Eyman could be characterized in the same light.
Yes, he
his
could.
initiatives are constantly
Yep.
obfuscating the truth and trying to sell voters something that's not, I think, sound fiscal policy. This, our whole county government and our 1% levy lid came from one of his shenanigans back in the 90s, and I think you and I agree that that's not really been good for our community.
Oh, I agree.
And this is another example of that. I don't know, I'm sure there's things the state's doing, it's good, bad, whatever, but this is not. What I feel comfortable about is that I-976 is not an appropriate way to address whatever it is he's trying to address, and it's going to hurt our local governments in ways that I don't think the voters understand. This is a modest thing for us to basically just tell the voters, this doesn't work for our community. I'm comfortable making that statement in that way, and so I'm okay with it.
And I respect that position. It's just, from my perspective, they just haven't been upfront with it. And I'm not saying that Mr. Eyman has either. I'm not endorsing his deal. I'm kind of inclined just to let the voters have a say about what they want to happen without me verifying what the state is alleging is all true. That's what I'm concerned about, because we have been misled so many times. So we'll do whatever we're going to do. I'm just wondering what the impact is going to be one way or the other. It's not all that different than the darn courthouse thing. We know we need a courthouse. We just we're approaching it from different ways. And,
This is so fun. Did you have something to add?
No.
Before I
not
jump
at
in?
this
Okay.
time. I will say, I guess I do have something to add, thank you. The county, the impact to the county, absolutely, this will impact our county because we receive revenue from this source. The revenue source will disappear much like it did when the original bill was passed on the MVET. The county lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of support, and we stand to lose that much, if not more, if this initiative should pass.
I do not disagree with you, Robin. The problem is the legislature has had adequate time to deal with all of these issues and chose not to. And I don't understand exactly why.
So I would say that the legislature put these revenue mechanisms in place. That is how they dealt with these things. And now the voters who, with all due respect to our voters are highly intelligent people. If they took the time to look at all aspects of this, they would understand it, but most voters don't have that kind of time and don't understand the way that this will impact the roads they drive on and the transportation available to them. And I think that the information, this is just one more piece of information that voters could take into consideration.
If we were to,
That's my point
the
of
one
view.
thing that's really important for us with our special relationship to rural county is the rural transit program. I mean, that just vanishes probably, and most likely. We can't say out of that 100%, 70%, we can't say what the state legislature will spend that last 30% that's not taken away on. They could decide to not fund the state patrol and fund rural transit, but I find that highly unlikely.
You're right.
So it's going to go to state patrol to stop the bleeding there, and that means that all of our van pool and rural transit programs will be vanished into thin air. And that's going to really hurt my district, because I have folks in Rochester and Little Rock, I know that utilize that, and it's, so it's important for people to understand.
Or let's say that the state did decide to continue funding for those things and don't fund the state patrol. Is that a good
Right.
outcome for the
No,
voters?
no, absolutely.
That's any way you look at it. This revenue stream is funding extremely critical services, and it won't be there anymore. And we'll have to look for another way to fund them, just as we're doing today in our own county.
With all the numerous unfunded mandates that we
Exactly.
have to
Well,
deal with.
unfunded mandates from
I
the
agree.
state and expectations of people for services.
And underfunded
And-
mandates.
You know, from an education standpoint, the lottery, I'll just go back to that. It was supposed to be a big help to education. And they actually, they didn't lie to us because they did put lottery money in the general fund, and then they take money out of the general fund to augment some
Right.
of the education issues, but it's not
So,
near enough. You know? I mean, they trick us.
As a former budget assistant to the governor for the state of Washington, I can say with some knowledge that the amount of money deposited into the state general fund from the lottery is a fraction of the 52% of the general fund at the state that goes to education. The lottery is a very small piece of the revenue that is funds education out of the state general fund. So I could say that just about all of the lottery proceeds, if not.
All of these
yeah,
issues, I think.
absolutely.
match
And
some
the
of that.
marijuana initiative that you mentioned was not an initiative of the state of Washington. That was
I know,
a voter
initiative of the
initiative.
people, I know.
So that's not a place where the state of Washington.
Although they
Some
give us,
shenanigans.
what, 2% of what they
They share
collect
very
here in-
little.
Here in Thurston County, so.
I would say that if I-976 passes, this is obviously destined to the courts anyway.
Yes.
It's going to go to the court.
It is.
And the voters will vote their pocketbook, in my opinion and my experience. They'll vote their pocketbook. And understanding that your critique of the state is not unlike my critique or distrust of the state for numerous reasons, I'm glad to hear you say, because I'm not going to give Mr. Iman complete credit, or he doesn't have credibility, whereas the state has none when it comes to certain matters, especially local matters. But the voters will vote their pocketbook, and currently, hopefully soon to change, I've got 5 vehicles. This is going to benefit me greatly. I would love this kind of money back into my revenue, or at least a less expenditure. But now, wearing this hat for almost 3 years now, I understand you said the realigning of priorities, not only locally, but at the state level. And we don't, as a county, we don't benefit from TAB revenues, but we benefit from the state's grant process for our roads and transportation issues. And if that dries up, I already see that we're stretching diversion and such and shifts from roads to now even parks. And using your analogy, Lacey and Olympia has 30, 42 parks employees. We've got 4. But we're shifting money now. And I see now, if this passes, if it's successful through the courts, that we would have to reassess a lot of our issues and take money back. And I just see it fraught with peril and having a devastating negative impact on the county. And I don't mean the county, just geographically. I mean by that I mean our citizens. Negatively. Yeah, you might benefit by not having to pay increased tabs or increased fees, but there's a price to pay for that. And even me, I'm not willing to pay that price wearing this hat, trying to adjust and balance our priorities with expenditures, with a huge lack of revenue coming back into the county. And that really concerns me. So I understand your concerns, but I'm ready to move on with this, and I'm not making a decision yet.
Exactly, no decision today, and even this afternoon, all we'll be doing is setting a public hearing for you to take comments from the public before you actually take an action on this resolution. So today, we're setting the public hearing, and then after the public hearing, you would make a decision as a board on whether or not you'd like to adopt this.
Okay.
When is the public hearing?
It would be on
The
October
22nd.
22nd.
And then the next meeting we could take action is?
You could
We can
actually
do it on
that
take
day.
action at that time.
Oh, okay. Provided we've had the hearing.
Right. You know, based on the comment you hear, you may decide to take action at that time.
So we can't keep this on the agenda for today to set the public hearing, but we'll
Yes.
get this finalized long before then.
Yes, it's my understanding that Romero will finalize the resolution when he returns tomorrow, so it's available to the public, and then we'll put out the notice of the public hearing by this Friday, at which time the resolution will be available.
Okay.
I just wish there
Go
was,
ahead.
I just wish there was a way to oppose this without endorsing the state's shenanigans, I guess, in the past. And I have no problem with putting this on for a public hearing.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'm just voicing my concern about the whole darn thing.
Yeah, or patting the other guy on the back.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know we mentioned this before, Gary, but if there's some particular piece that language makes you uncomfortable, just let me know, because I presumably would be fine. I just want to say, only message I want to send to the community is that this initiative is not a good piece of law. Whatever pieces of the support behind that you're not comfortable with is probably fine with me. I don't need to.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a dilemma because I hate endorsing the state with the way they've been in the past, but I don't want this to pass, and I would say that in a public forum. But it just bugs me the way the state has conducted themselves and had opportunities to fix some of the things here. That transit thing up north is a big piece of it. They could have addressed and chose not to. And doggone it.
That is troublesome. I think that's what's going to carry it.
Yeah. Up there for sure, I think it will. So anyway, I'm just voicing my concern here. I'm going to go, I'm in favor of hearing from the public anytime.
But that's a great offer, though. If you have some concerns about some paragraph or sentence or something here, get it to Romero. He can get it to,
I'll be looking at that.
Ty, and we can hammer it out
Yeah,
again.
if it feels like that piece of it's endorsing the state, I don't care about that part. I don't know. I don't even know about that part really. So that's not.
I guess I've been around too long.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me whatsoever if some of that language is not in there.
Okay.
Wow, nice. Okay, that takes care of that issue.
There we go.
And it is now 11:15, and we can move into commissioner items. Do you have a commissioner item to bring up? Then I'll get to you.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what your take on the last Regional Housing Council meeting, because I got a lot of input after from various people that were there, I was surprised and sort of blindsided by elements of what I understood was discussed and presented. So I'd like to kind of know where we're headed there.
Yeah, if I could start by asking, what piece surprised you or blindsided?
I was told that the county, you, Ramiro, whoever was there presenting, had like a bunch of additional expenses to the original workup that Keeley had presented that I'd seen in July. Things that I would be surprised that we hadn't had known about earlier, like public works stuff that was stored there that they couldn't find anything anywhere else to go to. ADA compliance, like now we're going to have to build we would potentially have to build an asphalt walkway because of state and federal funding triggering ADA compliance. And again, since we worked up a budget in the summer and we've been talking about this site since February, it surprised me that would be coming up in October.
Well, it actually came up in September, late August, and that was, and part of it was brought up by various folks. And one, the Chief Semko from Lacey was concerned with inadequate lighting and/or sidewalks on Carpenter. It's dark, it's rocky, there's holes, there's potholes and such, and people might get injured. It's a public safety issue. There is concern with the way the acreage is. It's kind of built in like a little bit of a dip in the center or a bowl in the center, so it has to be leveled and graded to bring that all to the same or at least sloped. But then water runoff issues are an issue, and paving to get in and out also raised issues with runoff and pervious surfaces and such. And so we were asked, or Romero was asked at the last meeting or two, come up with a bid. What would it cost Public Works to do the grading, to do the sidewalks, to do lighting? And it was more or less, I'm not going to use the right word, it wasn't to be ADA compliant, but ADA tolerant, to increase public safety and help folks get in and out of the site. And then there was plumbing and sewer, electrical going in, and then there was equipment just north of the site that is sand, I don't think it's salt, but maybe sand and other equipment back in the back that we use for hazardous weather and inclement weather to get in and out. And that would have to be displaced and moved. And I asked, well, can we just limit maybe the site and allow ingress and egress of that equipment? And was told at the last meeting, no, it's too dangerous, it's too noisy,
It's too, so, I mean.
so that would have to be placed somewhere else. They have to find a place for that. And I just the total, sorry to cut you off, but the total was going to be about $800,000 just for the improvements and such to bring it up to speed before we do anything further with it. And we still didn't have a place to put the sand and the inclement weather equipment at this point.
It's like 9 acres, right? And I mean, if you look at Olympia's stabilization site, it's like maybe twice as big as this room. I mean, the idea that you couldn't find a piece on this property without messing up the public works materials in the back just strikes me as very hard to believe.
And we didn't have anybody from Public Works there, so it was Romero and I were the only ones from the county there. So I can't argue that piece of it. 'Cause I asked about ingress and egress. There must be a way around that.
Yeah.
And the plumbing was an issue.
And plumbing, again, what are we doing there? I mean, like at Olympia, they've got a row of porta potties. Like, what are we plumbing? I mean, what is it that we're going to have?
Well, there would be the wash trailer, the shower trailer, whatever it's called, the hygiene trailer put in, and we're not able to hook into the current septic there associated with the range, the Ole police range, former range, and there was a row of Connex trailers that are used for storage. We could probably use 1 or 2 of those, but have to move the rest. There was a host of issues surrounding those things. And then the conversation kind of turned toward, if we're not going to be ready by October, because there was 1 or 2 members of the council of this council wanted to push for an October start date, and others of us were saying that's not even realistic. But the goal was before the weather sets in, the inclement weather sets in, then it was being pushed, let's get it done by November. And we reiterated, that's not even realistic at this point. December might be still undoable. So then conversation turned then, well, maybe we turn this into perhaps at least engage the conversation of maybe just a place to stay warm and dry. And then that turned into the drop-in centers, or the lack of, with the Salvation Army and the Timberland and the CCC and such. And I don't have my notes, they're in the other room. Don't recall exactly how we left it, but we're waiting to get follow-up from several different entities to come back this next month for the next meeting. But it was something that was discussed, that these improvements needed to be made in order to keep the county liability at a minimum, and then law enforcement weighed in about security of the site and who's going to pay for that and how it's going to be combined, what are we going to do? And that went nowhere, no decisions were made.
Who was there for law enforcement? You said Chief Simcoe from Lacey.
Ken was there, and so was Dave
Pearsall, Johnson?
No, Johnson. Dave Johnson was there, Captain. Was there representing the county.
Okay.
Can I continue on this just for a minute?
Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
This goes back to that whole Salvation Army thing. And based on what you know now, where does that $200,000 that we gave up about a week or two ago towards this project, where is that if it doesn't get done? Do we have the ability to get that back and reapply it?
Well, we've never given it to anybody.
No, I know, but I mean, we've kind of allocated it to.
Well, I would think so, Robin, because it hasn't been allocated, it's just been paused
So, I
and put
mean-
on hold for that.
Put
but it
into the
hasn't-
conversation.
Yeah.
But if it isn't utilized for that, is there any possibility that we could do something with the Salvation Army? Because again, I feel they are the experts on, and they need more support, obviously. I don't know what happened to their national, but.
But if they lost 450
yeah, something
national, and then
happened.
they wanted 750 from us, it's through CIP, that means they need like $1.2 million to do what they were planning to do.
And I don't even know if that's possible, but.
But to answer your question, your first question, as we're moving ahead with all the other partners in this Regional Housing Council, and we've already put the land and/or 200,000 on hold, I wouldn't support just, okay, well, we're going to pull out that 200,000
Well,
and
okay.
leave it be a whole, and then
No,
how
I
are we
mean,
going to fill
I'm just
that?
wondering, it doesn't look like it's gonna, that doesn't look like it's gonna make it, at least this winter.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, and I'm trying to figure out if that's our emergency money, so
Yeah.
would that be better spent in another area is all? Because a lot of times we do make these decisions compartmentalized without knowing some of the other facts
No,
that might play
Lacey
in.
Lacey City has 38 parks employees. We can put that 200,000 to parks. No? Okay.
Restricted
good.
But I
use.
understand you're trying to fill a gap if it doesn't happen this winter, and I'm not convinced it won't happen this winter.
Okay.
I'm just not sure it will, or how soon deep into winter it will happen,
Okay.
if that makes sense. But that 200,000 was set aside for this purpose, and I can't
Just gonna
support-
leave it there for now.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, good enough. I'd like to know, and I don't know who I need to get this information from. I know Romero's been meeting with some of the folks down at Olympia, but it was brought to our attention that the Olympia's long-range plan doesn't have this capital expenditure for however many $1 million for the municipal court and some kind of jail activity at the courthouse, and then does that mean they can't participate in that and they have no intention? I'd like to know a little more about what does that really entail if they don't have it in their plan?
So you're asking about the courthouse and Olympia participating in the new courthouse?
I'm
I mean,
glad
yeah,
you
because you
asked
said
that.
it's got to be in the plan to do it. And
Right.
the plan isn't everything we're going to do, but it's everything we might do.
That's
And
correct.
so it was being pointed out that
City of
Olympia
Lacey doesn't have the courthouse
Olympia doesn't have the
in their
courthouse jail,
capital
so they
facilities
wouldn't be
Right.
able to help us even if they wanted to, is what the suggestion was.
That was the suggestion, but the capital facilities plan, the county adopts the capital facilities plan, our CIP or CFP, once a year at the time you adopt the budget. The state law allows for the CFP to get updated at any time that the budget is amended. Now, I know how the county laws work. I'm not as familiar with the city laws, but it's my understanding that once the city council takes a vote, part of that vote will be to add it to the CFP. It's not like they can't add it. I don't know for certain. I've not reviewed their CFP, so I don't know for certain that it's not on there. But if it's not hard to add.
But it might be hard, it might not be hard to add, but do they have the funding? Because I hear
Well,
rumor
that's the
mongers.
other-
So
that's my
do we
rumor
have
mongers
the
saying they don't have the
funding?
money, but I hear from council they have
We
it.
also don't have the money. Quite frankly, we don't have the money either. We have a plan for how we will obtain the money. That is also what the city of Olympia is working on.
Their plan.
Yes.
And they don't have anything yet, though?
No, they
Okay.
don't have the funding secured, much like us.
No, but I mean,
Right.
do they have a plan to get that funding
It
secured?
is
Should
my
they?
understanding that that is part of what the city council is talking about,
But we
how they
don't-
will move forward.
Okay.
Nothing solid yet, in other
No,
words.
and they're won't be, it's also my understanding that there won't be anything solid until we are ready to enter into an interlocal agreement with the city, at which point they will have all their ducks in a row.
Well, they ought to.
Except if they don't have bonding capacity, maybe they legally can't.
They
See,
have
that's-
plenty of
Okay,
bonding
that's right.
capacity.
Okay.
I do know that.
Okay, good enough.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, are you done with that issue? Okay.
Yeah,
good.
court, yeah.
Yeah,
Your issue.
I'm done with that. Okay, I mean, I had another issue as well.
Yeah,
But
but you had
going
an
back over?
initial issue about the RHC, Regional Housing Council, then it moved into the court.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm a little bit frustrated that some of these things, Keely's not, obviously, Keely was the first one to put together like looking at the sites, kind of, and she's not a public works person or a project manager, so I'm not pointing finger at her at all, but, whether we should have consulted, as we've been going and it's taking a long time, and then to have these new, like, pretty obvious, like the public works materials one, which is an $80,000 hit to this project, like, how could that not have been, like,
That surprised me, yeah.
seen before October's meeting? So my feeling about the 200, just to kind of close out my thoughts on that point, is my feeling is it's not so much that I want to see us financing a bunch of blue tents, for stabilization site. I'm not a housing expert, and I really don't know or care if that's what we do. What I think is going to send a good message to this community and is the regional partnership that we're working on and coming up with a project. There's plenty of people in this community that can think of a good project that's going to help the home situation. And I will defer to, you guys that are sitting on the Regional Housing Council. I want that money allocated and pooled with our partners in this county to come up with a good project. If it's not what we thought it was going to be, then come up with something else.
Yeah.
If somebody thinks that they threw in a bunch of costs to torpedo this and we're going to pull out and walk away, that's a failure from my perspective. We're going to, if I were in control of this, we're going to continue to work with our partners and come up with a good project and to try to help this situation through whatever means we can. We don't have enough resources, but we do have the ability to work together in a way that we haven't in years past. So I just want to see, if Plan A is just absolutely unfeasible, 800,000 or more for this site, then okay, then what's the next best thing we can do together?
Yeah.
And maybe add our $1406 into the mix and whatever. But I want to see this process move forward because I think that over time, this community will benefit greatly by having the county and the cities working together on homelessness. It's all of our problem.
And the 1406, buddy, can't be used for the site. It can only be used for the housing.
Right.
Moving people out.
But if it's a bigger project and we don't help the situation this winter, I understand the people that want to really do something for this winter. I'd love to do that too, but if we can't, I still want us to work. There's something we can do that's going to be good, and I want us to keep working toward that.
Yes.
Maybe just a follow-up on that is we've been working for quite some time about auxiliary dwelling units. And we haven't got off first base on that. I know we were kind of thinking that the legislature was going to do something with that this year, which they did not. That could do quite a bit to alleviate a lack of affordable housing. Because affordable housing with the government involved is almost an oxymoron. It just doesn't happen. So that's one piece of the puzzle I would like to focus on a little more. But my original plan, when I had talked with others about working with the other jurisdictions, was up at the jail facility where the county has additional property. And I don't see the restrictions on that property. They talked about drainage and some other things, but I don't think the problems are there. We need to fix that drainage issue anyway up there. And I think that's an ideal spot that won't have near the public outcry about the location. I think it's worth looking at. Why can't that be a Plan B, for an example, if Plan A just isn't feasible? And if nothing else, I don't know why we have to get too elaborate. I mean, even if, I don't know, you put up a pole building for $60,000 or something with some pretty good coverage, so people can stay dry in a tent or something. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see common sense come into play, and common sense not always be overruled by bureaucracy. And that's kind of what I see each time we try to move forward on anything that we do in moving to help. So,
Wouldn't we have the same problems pretty much though at the Tumwater site in terms of it's not graded, you have to have walkways, there's no public transit down there.
yes, yeah, we have public transit.
Not as accessible. So I don't know, I don't think that we're gonna, I
We
think
don't
the
have-
problems would be the same at either site.
We don't have services
They're
out
both
on the Martin Way
unimproved.
thing, and
Hygiene.
we don't have services up there. So
Yeah.
those things would all have to be dealt with, probably continuing to bust these folks downtown, no matter what we do.
And I remember the original, when Keeley presented the original kind of pros and cons for each site, I mean, the list for Carpenter was
Right,
was
it
a
doesn't-
a lot more pros and a
Well,
lot more
but-
cons for Tumwater.
But now it doesn't sound like that's the case now with all this other
With the
stuff
other
from
things
this
coming
most
up, and like
recent meeting.
you did have a positive point, and that was the constituent reaction would be, I think, different with the Tumwater site, if it's even a feasible spot. However, unofficially, the city of Tumwater doesn't want it in their backyard.
Well, but that's beside the point. If we're doing things together, we're
It's still-
trying to offer up.
I understand that, but I'm just saying it's a consideration still.
I know. Well, neither does Lacey want it out there.
Right.
Even though it's in
But
the
they're
county.
they're working towards resolving and working towards a solution.
Anyway, I don't see a
that.
quick fix coming. And I'd go back to helping the
And I'm not
Salvation
defending
Army.
one
If
over
I
the
could
other.
get- If I could get my way, we'd go talk to the Salvation Army, because I think they're the experts. But, okay, can we move on to a different topic, I guess, now? Have we finished
Yeah.
this one? You've all heard my, ongoing criticism of application of chemicals and urea 46 nitrogen application by helicopters to the forest. And that takes place throughout the Cascade Range and over in Kitsap and other places that run, everywhere that runs into the Puget Sound. So I understand now that Kitsap County has got something going from a county level, trying to prevent that from taking place, and so does Jefferson County. And I'm just wondering if we can't maybe have staff at least look into that. See if there isn't
Jefferson
something.
and who else?
Jefferson
Grant?
County and Kitsap County.
Kitsap.
Both apparently are in some type of litigation or moving forward with something to prevent that type of contamination of our waterways. And
They can overrule DNR permitting and stuff. I know
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're talking about litigation. And what bothers me about this whole thing is I contend over the last 50 years, there have been millions of tons, and it just washes right into the Puget Sound that doesn't go into actual organic growth when a living organic mechanism attaches on, that nodule will grow trees and such. But whatever that is missed gets right into the water and out in the Puget Sound. And I would still like to have somebody come down. I mean, we had Weyerhaeuser come one time, and when they got done, it sounded like the whole process about the tobacco industry telling Congress how good this stuff was for you, on the nicotine business. Anyway, I just think we're missing the boat if we don't continue to push for this. We've got enterprise services that are now saying, well, we don't have resources to check into the upper Deschutes. And besides that, they could check the upper Deschutes now and maybe not have a problem, because they only apply periodically. If I was Weyerhaeuser or I was watching this, I wouldn't be putting anything anywhere near the Deschutes River right now. But
So you want staff to look into that?
yeah, I'd like to have staff kind of look into, is there something to this? At least
Okay.
in Kitsap and Jefferson,
Yeah,
wouldn't
that-
take much.
So I'm taking a note for staff to check with Kitsap and Jefferson and see what they can find.
Yeah, see if something is going on that maybe they're able to get farther ahead on this. I know we're all busy, but I just think it is probably the single biggest environmental
A little
problem
one
that
that
we're
Gary might be
facing.
interested in.
Okay.
So
Right.
you, remember at Steady, did you leave? We were both there.
Yes.
But I don't know if you left before the Tenino talked about their work to receive commercial solid waste. Did
Well-
you see John Millard's discussion about that?
No, I don't think so. I had to go to another meeting.
Yeah, that's why I thought you were
morning,
gonna miss
it.
so I
Biosolids?
missed it.
Yeah.
The biosolids.
Biosolids, and I know because you've been, really fired up about that, and
Right.
Tenino is basically developing the capacity to become a commercial receiver of solid waste and they want to, beyond that, they want to produce higher grade biosolids and keep them locally application as composting materials and stuff. So I knew that you would want to know about that.
Yeah, and what I would like to do is, I've been to several presentations out at Yelm now, where they've got, this group has had a couple of scientists come down and talk about this, and the photographs and things that they bring with. I actually brought this up at a solid waste advisory board meeting the other day with Steve, I think it is. Steve, he's one of the... Gilmore, okay. Because they've got their facility over in eastern Washington.
Right.
This scientist up at Yelm had a bunch of photographs that he showed what they're doing with bio-waste from all over. Some of it's, I guess, coming out of Canada, but Seattle and Tacoma, they are stacking that stuff up in these farmers' fields over there.
Feet deep.
Thousands of tons, yeah, big hills of it. I mean, and they're storing it there, and they're paying these farmers not to farm their field, and they keep all this stuff quiet, which bugs me that the public really doesn't know what's going on with these thousands, I don't know, millions of tons of material that is being dumped in our environment. And some of the photographs this guy has is unbelievable. Him and his little group have taken it upon themselves to follow trucks from where they pick up the biosolids. It's just sludge. And they have, Ecology has something called Class A biosolids.
Yeah, Class A, Class B.
It just has a little more of the water drained out of it. All the plastics and all the other heavy metals and chemicals are still in that. And I think people get snookered. Like, it sounds like Tenino is being snookered to me.
That's where Lot sends stuff, is Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
And I don't know where Tenino is in the process of research or ordinance, but when I talked with the mayor a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
he had dollar signs in his eyes, but he's not a scientist.
Right,
by
and
trade,
they'll
so I
tell
don't
you
know-
anything.
I don't know what he knows or doesn't know, or what kind
Yeah.
of research he is or isn't getting, but looking at it as a revenue source for the city, which they would be in
Right,
favor
they're
of.
looking at doing that. And
But I
I'm
don't
only
know what
bringing
they know about it, so I don't
I'm
know where
only
they are in
bringing
the
it up
process.
because it's a conversation. If I don't want us to, I wanted us to have this conversation early. If you think that there's a problem or that we should
Oh,
talk to
God,
Tenino and work with them, let's do it early before they invest money in something that maybe isn't good. I don't know.
Could
but-
we have this scientist, he's got a heck of a presentation, come down and give us a presentation that's open to the public so the public can see what he's talking about, and we can be somewhat knowledgeable. We're not scientists
But to
either.
be fair and balanced, we'd have to have someone from that side
I
to
don't
give
care.
the opposing.
Oh, I have no problem with that.
counteract and
I'm
say yes
always
or no.
open up. I am very open to all the information before we
Right.
make public policy decisions.
Do you have any idea where Tenino is in their process in making this happen?
They're pretty early on in it. I think it's going to be like a 2-year process for them to develop the infrastructure.
Okay.
But I mean, if we think this is something that's of concern, we should touch base with them and we should have a discussion with Tenino.
Well, I did with the mayor already about the concerns.
I have major
And in
concerns.
Yelm.
Because I don't know enough about it, frankly, to know if it's.
Well-
But I just know that. I mean, I'd like to see that conversation happen early rather than later. And
I know the
sort it out.
aquifer down around Tenino, which flows all the way down to Rochester and Gate, and that whole area through Grand Mound, and it's about 90 feet deep, and it's a very porous environment. And I can't help but think that would be very detrimental to water quality. And I just think it behooves us, I don't think we can trust ecology. Ecology issues permits to do this type of thing. They issue permits to put all these chemicals in the headwaters of all the rivers throughout the whole Cascade Range. And they actually issue permits to put spray for shellfish production into the saltwater areas to kill, they put an insecticide on to kill burrowing native shrimp or something like that. Herbicide to kill eelgrass, because that's one of the big, eelgrass is one of the big things small salmon live in, to hide in, you know, and whatnot. I don't get it, that they issue permits for all this stuff that's contrary to protecting the environment. But it's all about money. I can tell you Weyerhaeuser is not very happy with me, nor the whole timber industry, because I do go around talking about this quite a bit. And so if I disappear sometime,
Well, I'll talk further
what happened
with
to
Wayne
me, I
Fournier, the
guess.
mayor, and even John, to get more, at least so I know where they are in the process. I know it's early on,
Yeah.
but to get
Well,
more
I just
aware.
didn't want to get, I didn't want you to
Yeah.
get surprised by
I
it.
thought there was a group
after they-
from the Yelm people that were down there, I thought, at one of those meetings, but maybe not.
It was a Yelm person that turned me on to Tenino wanting to do this.
Was it?
Yeah, biosolids down there.
Anyway, I know they'll get paid money to do
There
this.
is a need, so there's kind of two pieces of it. There's the receiving the solid waste and being able to process it, and then it's where the biosolids go.
Where it goes.
That first piece of it, I can say as kind of recent developments at Lot, we could sort of use, because Lot is not, we basically cut people off from being able to, the little guys that go out and pump, from being able to dump at Lot because it's too disjoining to our biological process, which means they're left with either Tacoma or Centralia or Shelton. I mean, basically Thurston County is like there's a hole. So it could be useful to have a place, an appropriate place in Thurston County for these folks to go besides Lot. So that piece of it, I think, is maybe a good thing. The more controversial piece is whether they're going to try to, market the biosolids locally and deal with them. Which they could do that and sell them or dispose them a different way.
I do think that the state legislature, I believe, has two people going to Denmark along with a county commissioner from King County to review some of these alternatives, ways to treat this waste. I think that's taking place, like maybe right now.
We just heard that, yeah.
Maybe that'll develop into something that they can point us in the right direction. But the difference between Eastern Washington and Tenino is all the difference in the world. We get a lot of rain here. At least over in Eastern Washington, I don't know, they get 4 inches or whatever it is.
But Tenino's not looking to...
Yeah, and they don't have the same soil conditions, and they're a long ways away from water. In Tenino, they're only 90 feet away from the bottom of the aquifer. So,
But Tenino's looking at processing this stuff, right?
I think
They're looking
so.
at processing this solid or sludge, whatever. But I don't know, I haven't heard
interested in
any
seeing
thoughts of
this.
spreading it out there.
I don't know. I'm very concerned about water quality in general, and I think this is detrimental to water quality if it's not handled right. So,
Okay. Another
Commissioner
issue?
Item, what about you?
No, because you're bringing up the Tenino one I wanted to hear about, and I was going to talk about the RHC as well.
Okay.
So mine might have been hit. Anything further before we call a break?
Do we have
For
just a
lunch for
second?
staff?
I have, let's see, one other thing.
Pick your favoriteest one.
Okay. And I'm working with Josh with this issue, but something came up in which a party, the wind farm people, were held up quite a bit on their staging area, the permitting process. And one thing that came to light, and I know Josh is looking into it, but I just want you guys to be aware of it, that the building permit for their staging office out by Vale Camp could not be issued because they hadn't had their well drilled and certified somehow. I don't know, I guess they test the quality of the water. And I guess I wonder why. I mean, why, especially when a lot of buildings going on, one of the things they struggled with was finding a well drilling outfit to do this. But why they couldn't have went ahead with building their building and leave it up to them to be responsible for getting the adequate water. Now, I know water has to be drilled, I think, 100 feet away from a drain field or something like that. But it wasn't like they were in a consolidated piece of property where they couldn't go out to a different place and do it. It seemed like an unnecessary delay for these people. They're trying to get this wind farm up and running this year. They're still trying to do it. And they're being held up considerably. Now, Josh is doing his best to figure this out. And the people had been in touch with me, I guess because it's in my district, about a month ago. And we thought we had that kind of ironed out, but we didn't. And I had made a return call to see if we had things ironed out, because I'd heard from others that the county was still holding them up and all that. Anyway, I mean, here's an outfit trying to put up alternative energy and all that kind of stuff, and we're kind of blocking the way, and it makes me wonder if we don't need to do some kind of a code adjustment. I mean, do we always need to have
What is the issue
water
exactly?
ahead of time? Well, the well wasn't drilled, and they didn't know they needed to drill the well. Somebody was telling them about that. Here's Josh, he knows a little bit more about it.
That means he's listening.
Yeah, he's paying attention to us here.
I'm glad you're here, because I have something else for you.
Yeah, okay, well, if you've got something, maybe he's got new information. I know he's been working on it.
Joshua Cummings, Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. And exactly. So yes, appreciated this issue coming to our attention, and we are researching the different items relating to the permit. Again, we are 3 different departments: Public Health, Public Works, and Community Planning and Economic Development, that provide assurances based on code and ordinances that all the processes are being followed correctly. And so we are in process of trying to make sure that the discussion on the well meets with what the hearings examiner requested. And, I just want to make sure that it's always clear, there are lots of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to different permitting process. It's not just the government. There's also the applicant and the contractor and the business owner and the subcontractor. And so making sure that everybody's singing from the same sheet of music is important. And that's part of the process that we're engaged in right now, is figuring out what sheet of music they have and making sure it's the same one we got. So I appreciate the commissioner's comments. And as you discussed, we met on this yesterday, and our team is looking into it.
And so I'm just briefing you guys about what's going on and the possibility, if Josh comes up with something and we do see that, well, maybe we could make a code adjustment to streamline something, that's all. So that's kind of where we're at.
If needed, yeah. And we were briefed on last week on the Case Road fish canning property, where there's a bunch of open trailers and 27 footers, 54 footers out there, and all that. Is it the Faith Harvesters?
Faith Harvest Helpers.
Yeah, the project known as Faith Harvest Helpers.
Right, and so we were briefed on that ahead of the time, which I thought it was very helpful. And I attended this last Sunday, an annual banquet for the Thurston Farm Bureau, and I think I might have seen you there. But it was brought up by the MC of the event that the county's holding up issues with some people that were trying to set up some food donation to a food bank, and I didn't know what he was talking about. And I went and chatted up this individual, not the MC, but the individual that was involved. So I heard the county was waylaying and stalling or setting up roadblocks, and he explained exactly as you explained what you are doing with them. And apparently you have a game plan with you and Brett, and you've met with them on a regular basis. And their concern is we can't come up with $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000, whatever it is, to get through this process. But I only say but because since it came up in a public forum, and I connected the dots once I started talking to this guy offline about the issues. I don't know where to go with this now, other than there's a process in place. You're in contact with them, and they have an itemized list of things they need to adhere to. Which seems to me to make sense. Go ahead.
Yes, and in the briefing that we provided the commissioners as an update on that case in particular, the goal was to ensure transparency, consistency, and accountability as the county government works through its process. And that document that we provided on this case specifically had the violations that are currently under review, as well as the timeline of the meetings that staff has met with, and different departments has met with the applicants. I would say, in terms of the term the county is waylaying, I think that the Olympian article recently that relayed that sometimes the county gets into the position where we have applicants that want to do a job, and we have neighbors that are concerned about whatever it is that's happening on that land. And the county has a compliance group, and it has the planning and permitting group. And so we have the opportunity to sometimes have to work both sides of a case to ensure that codes and ordinances are followed correctly. And it can be frustrating for the citizen that's applying, and it can be frustrating for the neighbor that's complaining. But our goal is to find the middle and correct and most legal path.
So we're still working with this group,
Indeed.
okay?
And receiving complaints at the same
And it's
time.
in
Yeah, and
Commissioner
it's-
Menser's district.
Oh, is it?
I mean, we've had
I
a
thought it
few
was yours.
cases this
No.
year where somebody basically just does something unpermitted, and then it's like our fault that we're not moving fast enough to give them back, retroactive permission for the thing that they should have asked for permission up front. And I don't really have a lot of tolerance for that approach. So, and that's not the only situation like that. But it's not our, when you go out and do things and create 25 code violations, it's not then, an emergency on our end to back permit you. We'll work through a process, and it seems like in every case that I'm referring to, we have been, in my opinion, very straightforward in laying out, here is a series of steps that we can work through together to get you where you need to get, if that's even appropriate. In most cases, we have found a path forward that can meet everybody's needs, but I don't appreciate that then, in one case I'm remembering, it was consistent public testimony. In this case, it's, telling one of our commissioners that we're throwing roadblocks, and it's like, we're not throwing roadblocks.
Correct.
That's just ridiculous. So, that type of, characterization of what we're doing when, people aren't working with our staff, I don't have a lot of.
Another issue to that is a very famous smokehouse that went up in flames here within the last year. And working with those folks compassionately to move forward, then you found some violations from years ago that need to be rectified. And I haven't heard from this family for some time now, so I'm guessing things are moving forward in that arena with that property.
I can't speak on that topic at this time. I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay. And I know it just came up, so I'm blindsiding you with that. But it's the same thing. Yeah, you find a violation that's been in progress for decades.
I guess
try to rectify it, move ahead, and help them to find that path.
Thank you. Yeah, what I would say is our staff are professionals, and they recognize the rules of engagement, and that applicants can be frustrated and complainants can be frustrated. But I think what is meaningful is the continued support of the county commissioners, knowing that these professionals are doing their job and they're working to find those best paths forward. So we appreciate your support.
Well, you've turned that ship, as you use that ship, quite a bit in the last 3 years.
Direction of the Board of County Commissioners and great staff.
To be helpful and help people resolve issues, and not so much the hammer,
Thank you,
but
sir.
the helping hand. But the hammer's still there when need be. So anyway, thank you for staying on top of that issue, and I don't think we need to meet on that. That gentleman, I think, is going to reach out to my assistant, and when I speak with her again, because she's in training today, she will meet with your assistant and forward it that way.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anything further? We're just about ready to close. Do you have anything last minute, anything burning within 2 minutes? Minute
I
and
got
90 seconds?
3 minutes to make it
90
happen?
seconds?
No.
Do you have any follow-up?
I do.
Please.
And this is on the budget process. We had the public hearing last night. We have budget sessions in the morning and afternoon on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. If you have some specific questions or items that you want to know more about, please let me know as soon as possible so we can pull together any documents or information that you might need. But these are the final decisions to make. If you should find when we start to meet tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, that you're ready to go forward with the budget as is, then we'll be canceling all the rest of the time. It could be that easy, but if you want to do any revisions, then please let me know as soon as possible so we have the information to work through those.
So I have a conflict tomorrow morning at 9 with the TMBHO, but we will know at that point in time whether we're canceling the other holds that are on the
Yep.
calendar.
Yep, and I know that you also have a conflict with the morning session tomorrow.
I have ORCA at 10. I'm
Yep.
good for the other 3 sessions, but that first one, I only have the first 45 minutes. Maybe we can check in and see where we're at,
I think that is the best possible plan.
because he's my
is
backup
to-
for ORCA.
Yeah, well, or you skip ORCA.
Well,
this
yeah, if I
month.
have to, I
Yeah,
have to.
Yeah.
And I will take my TMBHO, and if I can, move it down an hour, because we won't need the 9 to 11:30 perhaps for the budget. Maybe we'll need an hour.
Well, I'm hoping, personally, if you are prepared as a board to go forward with the budget that is currently published, then it'll take all of 15 minutes and we'll be done. But if you want to start to unpack it or have discussions or make changes, then I can't predict how long it might take.
Well, let me ask my seatmates, do you want to unpack the budget in any way, or
Not that I'm aware of, no.
do you?
I mean, I think we should discuss, I think we should rediscuss it in light of the flex unit question that wasn't before us when we made the budget decisions, and the policy questions that Robin brought to our planning session, those old policy. I mean, I just think we need to touch base.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and decide whether there's a basis to.
Have we got something coming up on the flex unit? Because I know Commissioner Menser and I are coming at it from 2 different ways, but the result's the same.
So I believe that Romero was going to bring that back next week.
Next week. Okay, so, okay, tell me, I just need to know the timing for tomorrow. What do you got?
So we have
What do
a
you want?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
on the budget that's on the master calendar, but I'm hearing 2 of you have conflicts in that block of time. So if you want a more robust discussion, perhaps what we could do is not have the morning session and start in the afternoon
Just do the afternoon
instead.
one,
Would that work?
which is at 1:30,
Yeah,
Gary.
because I'm
That's
good.
fine.
I'm good for 3 hours Wednesday afternoon and on both sessions
Let's-
Thursday.
Let's
Okay.
do
Yes,
that
let's do
then.
that.
Let's cancel the 9 a.m. and just start at 1:30 tomorrow.
I'm hitting
afternoon.
decline.
We'll
and I'll
fit
get
you in
yelled
the
at.
master
Irrevocable
calendar.
I'll get yelled at later.
And there's a chamber event at 11:30 if anybody's,
Yep,
okay.
okay.
Yep, we'll just
And that's on the
convene it.
master calendar, I take it, right?
Yes, the chamber event is.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Okay, so we'll just,
Off for 9 and on for
we'll
Yep.
have,
the
We'll start at
1:30.
1:30.
And we'll be finished when we're done.
I imagine that we'll only need tomorrow afternoon, but we have Thursday reserved if necessary.
Got it, okay.
What is the chamber event?
just a regular chamber meeting, and I think their presentation is going to have to do with candidates running for maybe
candidate
the
forum.
mayor, I think.
mayor forum,
The
I think.
mayor's race and maybe the port
Port.
race.
I think they're bringing that.
I don't know if all the council races are included.
over
I
here at
think,
the Hotel
I think
RL.
there's
I
something
think
there
they're
about.
focused on those two.
Yeah, but the others will be there, just kind of a
11:30
meet
to
and
1.
greet, I think, at 11:30.
Okay, thanks, I didn't have
So-
that down.
Ooh,
I'll have to be
No,
late
you
because
gotta be there.
Because the ORCA, but.
Yeah, I'm sure they won't get, it says 11:30, but I think they won't get going really good until noon, probably.
I
yeah.
think that Kelly was signing people up for that because I declined this month.
That says you're invited.
Maybe Thomasina declined because I've got overlapping ORCA.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I wouldn't mind to see at least the forum part.
It might be televised, I would hope it would be televised. I think they're gonna do that. So you might be able to see it.
Anything else for the good of the order? I'm not sure we do.
For me.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in if you're still here, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Commissioner.